Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, March the 23rd, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, how are you?
D'Angelo Russell.
Yes. D'Angelo Russell.
That's
Russell, yes.
the guy.
There you go.
It would have been number 2 if he was around a little bit longer.
There you go.
I don't even think he's playing anymore.
He's not. I'm
He
pretty
was
sure
on,
he's not.
was on the Lakers for a while, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Couple
And
of
we're off with a
couple of pretty good
years.
There we go. Wait a minute.
Number one.
We just did the end of the top 10 list, so we're done, right?
I hope so.
That was, yeah. Old balls and we're out.
Should have been the top 3 list.
Top 3 list. There you go.
Call it at the end of the day.
So,
This
anyway.
was a little bit harder than I thought it would be, and I thought they would
That's
be.
what she said.
Yeah.
That's not what she said.
That's not what she
But
said.
she hoped.
Well, it's what she said, but it was a surprise to both of us.
I thought it'd be a lot harder.
You know, because there were a lot of, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you'll find out. There were a lot of guys that just weren't around that long, but
That's it.
including 2 pretty good ones who are on the team right now. But
well, you know what it is, and I was going to say this before when we were talking, and we'll talk more about this later, obviously, because everybody that's listening has no idea what we're talking about.
Screw it. Let's just start with the top 10
Let's
list.
start with the top 10 list.
Throw it out. Come on. That's what people.
You know what it is? I'll just
I
say
don't
real
want
quick
to
right now.
listen about the Mets signing some third string catcher.
No,
the fucking
none
Yankees
of that.
woes. Let's get on with our top 10 list.
Stop.
Come on.
Anyway, now what it is
Format be
the
damned.
bulk of the really, really good talent that they had on the team was only around for a year or two.
right.
Time. So,
But even despite, even once you got past
there was plenty of it.
Yeah.
But
even when you got past that, there were a few
of
tough
course.
decisions.
And that's why, exactly, they're on there. So anyway, we'll talk more about that. It's the Brooklyn Nets are tonight for our top 10. Well, our top
10
our top basketball.
We know they'll be
players,
back in
first and second
Jersey
team,
soon enough.
of course.
Right.
Maybe sooner than everybody thinks.
He doesn't want to live next to the water because he's afraid of falling over the edge of the earth. He'll come further inland.
Exactly. All right. Excuse me. I want to kick it off with this really quick. Not that this has anything to do with sports, but I just noticed this. This graphic came across the other day, and I saw it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Read this, and those of you listening to the audio podcast, we'll read it for you. Don't worry. But read this. Here you go. Read this graphic. It's meat. I'm sorry. It's for the people meat. Quality meats made from people like you.
What's CEO's name?
Or maybe it's Soylent Green.
What's amazing is that the guy his name is Fritz Pfeiffer, who's the CEO of It's For the People Meat, looks like a combination of Dr. Phil and every child molester you've ever, which I guess is redundant.
Pretty much.
But
yes. Quality meats made from people like you. That's.
Well, I'm gonna hang on here.
I think it should have been 4 people like you.
It should have been 4 people like you.
It's 80s.
I think what they're trying to say is that it's not some big conglomerate making the meat. It's the everyday people working in our plant.
I would like to track it down and see if Big Agra has any the meat industry is providing them with their meat, or if I doubt this guy, this Fritz Pfeiffer, is
going out
personally slaughtering the cow in his little barn, and
All right, here's what I'm going to say.
What's that?
I'll put that back up again.
Okay,
I'm going to dispel this myth right now.
Go for it.
Okay, quality meats
does not exist.
Quality meats made from people like you. All right. What do we know about people here in the good old United States of America? Regarding
we know a lot, actually.
How fat they are.
Okay, fair enough.
There's a lot of people, right? What is it? 56% of people are obese or close to it or whatever. Right?
Yeah, it's more than 50%. Yeah.
So are they cutting off parts of the fat and turning it into
No. Here's my point. If you look up as we're looking at it, upper left, it says 86% lean, 14% fat.
Right.
Well, if you have 14% fat,
Mm-hmm.
Your body fat is less, is considered normal.
Right.
So that is not people like me.
That's the meat ratio, though. That's the percentage of lean versus fat.
Well, maybe. Well, it's the other thing.
Still, I'm just saying,
if they're making it from people,
they're making it from people. They're some really.
Maybe they're blending it. Maybe they're blending it. Maybe they're only putting a little
some
bit
lower than normal body fat people. That's my point.
The other way I know it's not from people is that it says no hormones, no antibiotics, and no feedlots. And
no one's that healthy.
No. Okay, well, I was trying to do a short show tonight, but this will definitely.
If you show up and somebody goes, "Hey, man, I got these burgers that I made from this," would you eat it?
I wouldn't. But that's just.
Would you like a little? I threw a little Seth on the grill. Would you like somewhat cheese or what do you mean?
Well, then it says 100% USA cattle.
Oh, there. Sorry, put it again.
A few other things.
I know. Yeah.
I
think what they were trying to do is they were trying to say they're not made for people like you. I think it was trying to say made by people like you.
No, I think it was quality meats made for people like you. Nobody wants to draw attention to who's actually working in the meat packing plants because while the cattle might be 100% USA cattle, 99.999% of the meat industry is slave labor, mostly from South America and Mexico.
Gotcha. So made
they don't have a collective bargaining agreement.
Well, and here's the other thing. You guys know how a slaughterhouse works, right? We all know that. I don't want to get into that.
Haven't been in one lately, but
Well, if these are free range,
they want to lie in.
If these are free range cows, right?
Right.
They're living and eating natural grass and all that stuff. And then they're being herded, right? Into the chute, and then, dealt with. Compare that to cows that live their whole lives in a less than ideal existence, right?
Yeah, but none of these cows are free range, or it didn't say anything about that. Yeah.
No, I think it did. Well, anyway,
who cares? Next, let's get on to the top 10.
My point here is those cows that have the good life.
Suddenly, good life that ends in
electric
shock.
That's it. Suddenly they're herded and cattle shooted, and they don't know what's going on. They're going to be completely stressed out. It's going to make the meat tough and stringy. Cows that are just like, yeah, I'm a cow and it sucks. It's almost going to be a relief when they go to the slaughterhouse with them.
Yeah.
So I think
what you're saying is
a surprise throat slitting is way better than when you know it's coming.
Right. So what you're basically saying is. So what you're basically saying is the cattle that aren't free range is better meat than the cattle that are free range. Is where you're going with that.
Yeah, I think the free rangers are going to be freaked out by this unusual process, and I don't think the meat's going to be very good.
Yeah.
And there's no
Harry. How do you feel about
tenderizers?
I don't want to give because we have one. Dave Scardino is our only listener, and I don't want to lose his support. So
he's not a vegetarian, is he?
No, but I am, and I don't want to give. I don't want to discuss this. It's not the appropriate
forum
for
this. We'll have another. We'll do a podcast on another day.
I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose two of our three listeners.
Yes, you don't do that. So
need a podcast about cattle.
Probably not. So
the lager of beer, sports, and cows.
Beer, sports, and cattle. All right, exactly. All right.
Note to self: ask John to send the agenda for said program before we start next week for possible reorientation of content.
All right. Let's move on to some baseball. Here we go. A little bit. We'll start out with a little bit of baseball. A couple moves. And a lot of this is going to point to Harry because he wasn't here last week. Really quick, I just want to ask you. Well, let's go. Let's start with this. Obviously, the Yankees signed Anthony Rizzo for first base.
Sure, we all know this.
Luke Voit is gone. He went to the Padres. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
Yep.
I think Rizzo's a slightly better defensive first baseman at the tail end of his career. I thought Voit. The Yankees. I hope that the Yankees know something about Voit that we don't know, which is why they were so eager to get rid of him. But on paper and based on what his potential was, I don't think you're gaining anything by losing Luke Voit. Look, the Padres seem really excited about having him.
Yeah.
I think the Yankees didn't really get anything for him.
No.
Maybe we'll see if this right-handed pitcher can make it through half a season and has an ERA under 7, then success.
Then it was success, exactly.
But Luke Voit, I don't think I could be wrong with this. I don't think there's any Yankee with more RBIs after the 7th inning than Luke Voit the last 3 years.
Right.
And Luke Voit could play in home games.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But the question is, can you get enough playing time out of him?
Well, he had one year of injuries. He only had 1 year of injuries. And I think a lot of people. I mean, we're not asking that same question of anybody else. Rizzo was out last year with injuries right after they got him. He was out for a long period of time. Voit came back and actually did really well.
Played well, yeah.
So do we ask the same thing about Giancarlo Stanton? Do we ask the same thing about Aaron Judge?
There was a lot of talk about Judge.
Guys.
There was a lot of talk about Judge and whether
I'm actually going to go somewhere with this.
My point being is that you're not paying Voit nearly as much as what you're paying Rizzo or any of these other. I think for the money, Voit was a bargain for the Yankees, and he produced. Now, if there is something there, to your point, about these injuries where they feel like, hey, the writing's on the wall and our experts feel that he's probably going to be more injury prone, then great. I'm glad they got rid of him. Re-signing Anthony Rizzo tells me, and the lack of the Yankees to pull the trigger on any big name pitchings as of yet, and or replacement at catcher, center field, or shortstop, tells me that the Yankees are tightening. The wallets are not open. And they're not a destination for these big free agents. And I don't think it has anything to do with the desire not to play in New York. I think it's that the word is out on the street that the Yankees are not willing to write the checks that the Red Sox, Dodgers, and Mets are willing to write.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was going with this. So the other thing I want to say is obviously your boy Sanchez is gone.
Yeah. I mean, that was look, that to me, if anything out of this Yankees season – is hallelujah. They finally saw that the kid who kept riding his tricycle into the wall was probably not going to be the next senator from, So I think that if you looked at that as not the big trade of the offseason for the Yankees, but as an aside in years past, great. You got a guy who's had one pretty decent season at shortstop, who moved on for obvious reasons because that team got an even better shortstop. So you have at least a stopgap defensively. We'll see and it is somebody who maybe is not just a power hitter, whose on base percentage looks pretty promising, who has way too many last names, and I can't remember any of them. But and then you got a really old Josh Donaldson who's going to anchor the corner with a really old Anthony Rizzo.
Right.
So, okay. Is Josh Donaldson better than Gio Urshela? I think it's a wash. I think Urshela, however you say his name, has way better upside offensively, but he's much like most of the Yankees' left side of the infield the last couple of years, is a defensive liability.
Right.
So, but he was the defensive third baseman that the Yankees wanted. So I don't know. I think that it was all about getting rid of Sanchez. I wish Sanchez luck. I think he will actually probably do better in another market, especially a place like Minnesota. Other than that, I think that's the biggest plus of it. And when you're talking about the biggest plus of a trade is that somebody's gone. Okay. There are some things that I think Donaldson brings to the clubhouse that maybe the Yankees don't have. And maybe he's willing to be that guy who calls things out the way they need to be called out. We'll see. Hopefully he is.
Well,
but I don't have. Are the Yankees any better than they were last year? No.
On that note, obviously, Correa went to the Twins and Story went to the Red Sox.
Right.
So obviously no moves at any of the big ticket shortstops for the Yankees. So my point being, and I got one other thing to say about that, but my point being is this: do you think it's the Yankees can't spend or just don't want to spend?
Well, I'm not sure there's a big difference.
Well, yeah, there is, because if they can't spend, that means they don't have the money that they used to. If they don't want to spend, that means Hal Steinbrenner has plenty of money, he just doesn't want to write the check.
It's all lent. It's all borrowed money anyway. Yeah. I think that it's probably a fine line and somewhere in between. I think that they don't want to spend it so that they can in the future, if that makes any sense.
They don't want to spend it now so that they can. Well, obviously they know in their minds that they're going to have to pay Mr. Judge at the end of the season.
That's my point.
So
that's my point. And I think the Yankees are looking at this. Look, based on how the first couple games have started already with an injury to one of their top pitchers,
right,
and the fact that they've added no depth, in fact, lost some depth at pitching. They have big question marks behind the plate. I think they're set there defensively, but probably, they didn't upgrade there.
Right.
And look, here's the biggest thing that I want to point out is that, and I will defend this with anybody who wants to argue it. Okay. Mm-hmm. The Yankees' best infielder is DJ LeMahieu by far. It's not even close.
And he doesn't have an everyday position.
Okay. And he doesn't have an everyday position. And that killed him last year and literally led him to injuries that hurt his season. He played through them. Okay. But why are you holding on to Gleyber Torres and not getting something for him and allowing DJ LeMahieu to play second base? Or why did you sign Anthony Rizzo to a big contract when you could have kept Voit, who was already under contract, and had him DH and play first base but let LeMahieu, who's a great first baseman, let him play first base on a regular basis.
Right.
That's also going to lengthen his career and his ability to stay healthy as a Yankee. This is what I don't understand.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. It really, really doesn't. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Now, what I was saying to John last week is, I think it was last week, right?
Last week.
Yeah. Is what Michael Kay was saying, which is if you go back and you look at the Yankees and they're bringing in LeMahieu and what they said at the time, that was their plan all along. That was their plan.
Play a bunch of his.
Right. He was going to be a utility infielder, but they want him to play every day. And John and I both said, well, that just sounds stupid for pretty much any player except, maybe a guy who's a liability offensively, but he's a great defender and you're a little thin and some, you got
and he's not a liability at any of the defensive positions he plays.
He's none of those things.
He needs to be an everyday player more than anybody else in your damn infield.
And he's become an afterthought. And all for Gleyber Torres, which I'll tell you he should be the one platooning or trying to fit in and be a backup. They should have traded Torres. I've said, I'm a broken record. I said it for many years. The time to trade Torres and Sanchez was 2 years ago.
Yep. Well, Gleyber Torres is now the new Gary Sanchez.
Right.
They were holding on to Gary Sanchez until they realized, forget it. Now they're just hoping that this experiment works. Correct. And then a year or two from now, they'll do the same thing.
It's a very Mets-like move.
It is.
Hanging on to guys for too long, waiting for them to blossom. It just makes you question the guys making these decisions.
There's a lot of question marks with the Yankees, and a lot of it has to do, we talk about, Voit was healthy to go. He's healthy to start right now. There's bigger questions with a lot of other players when it comes to health. Where is Aaron Hicks? Where is he?
Right.
He was, you gave him a lot of money. He was an all-star, 2.5 years ago?
2.5 years ago, yeah.
If Aaron Hicks is 80% of what Aaron Hicks was 2.5 years ago, then the Yankees' outfield problems go away. They go away. You have a switch hitting guy who can hover around 300, drive in runs, and is an excellent center fielder. Mm-hmm. But we don't know. We don't know where Aaron Hicks is. Now, if the thought process is, well, we knew Voit might get hurt, so we're going to get rid of him, then what is the thought? Then that would make me assume that we know Hicks is going to be healthy. Because the Yankees have the most unconventional defensive setup in the history of the Yankees. You have guys playing out of position. You have Torres playing second base for the first time ever. You have your best player wandering around the infield, not knowing where he's going to play. I'm surprised DJ LeMahieu even knows after the inning's over what position to go to on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. All right, go to first next inning. All right, go play short next inning.
You sit out 1 inning. You got an aging guy who nobody else would give a contract to, and then you went out in Never Neverland and got arguably maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th best option you could have gotten for third base. So, and yes, okay, I think they got a good defensive shortstop, but all we hear about are all these wonderful prospects the Yankees have, but they're questionable. So if you're just going to get a guy who I just don't understand it. And now you have Judge who has barely played a full season and can't play day to day in the outfield. Stanton, who's going to have to play the outfield, and I don't know, a 97-year-old yet signed Brett Gardner platooning in center field with who knows if he's ready to go, Aaron Hicks.
Actually, the MLB website, I was looking at that today, free agents and trades and stuff. And next to Brett Gardner's name, it says mutually declined option. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that means.
That means that neither of them have made a decision on their future. Gardner's probably seeing if any. They're both playing a waiting game. Gardner's waiting to see if anybody else wants to pick him up, and the Yankees are trying to find out whether or not what their final moves are. This is a team that went out and said that Glaber, that said that what's his name was their day-to-day shortstop, and then less than 24 hours later traded for another shortstop.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they don't know. They don't seem to be. They seem pretty reactive and
look.
There's just no plan.
If the Yankees had a 2 or 3 starter, I wouldn't worry about any of this because the Yankees only win when they score 8 runs.
Right.
But they don't look. You got the guy playing third base who called out Garrett Cole last year. Okay, I mean, what kind of clubhouse is this going to be? Mm-hmm. And more importantly, to Josh Donaldson's point, what Garrett Cole are we going to have?
Right.
Because if we don't have the Garrett Cole of at least 90% of what we signed him for, then the Yankee season's over.
Well, let's. Are you going to get Spider Tech Garrett Cole, or are you going to get post Spider Tech Garrett
I'd
Cole?
rather see
or maybe somewhere in between.
I'd rather see him use Spider Tack and have a possibility of getting caught and suspended than non-Spider Tack.
Right.
I mean, he's proven he can pitch without it, but not very consistently.
He's proven he can hide the Spider Tack.
He's proven he could hide it when they're not looking. I mean, maybe that's what we need is a Spider Tack, concealer.
Maybe it's like his earlobe is made out of Spider Tack, so he just.
I mean, that's the elephant in the room is that the Yankees starting pitching is a giant question mark.
Right.
Out of any of the teams in the American League East alone, they have by far the weakest starting rotation, and this vaunted bullpen, which everybody talked about prior to last year, is not what it was made up to be. And by the way, another thing that we should be looking for is a closer. Right. So
you have one with Nolan Chapman.
I don't think the Yankees. I think the Yankees are right where they were last year, with the exception of bigger question marks in their pitching staff. Now, can Luis Severino come back? You have to have at least three solid starters pitching together. You can't have this piecemeal thing where one goes down, the other one comes back. I get it. Injuries are far more of a part of the game today than they ever were.
Sure.
But it's just,
Well, yeah, you can have a great bullpen, but
they don't have a great bullpen.
Right, but even if they did, you can't have the greatest bullpen working. Everybody working.
That's exactly
70 innings a year or whatever.
Well, poor Chad Green. I mean, he was. He had more innings last year by the All-Star break than Nolan Ryan did in his entire career. I mean, it's like every time I turned on the game, it wasn't even dark at the stadium, and Chad Green was in already. And you don't know which Chad Green you're going to get. Now, granted, he had a pretty good year considering what he was asked to do, but
sure.
How long can he do that for?
Right.
I mean, if that's the case, then you better go out and get a bunch of really decent, flexible arms that can throw on a day's rest for 2 or 3 innings. And that's okay. Look, I realize baseball has changed, but that's not the Yankees' MO.
Let me throw it to this another team that you're a Yankee fan, but you're not a fan of this team per se. Well, maybe a little bit because you live there. But let me throw it over to the Rockies for a minute. Okay, so last year they get nothing for Nolan Arenado.
Mm-hmm.
Then they don't trade Trevor Story. They let him go for free.
Mm-hmm.
But then they sign Chris Bryant to a 7-year, $182 million contract.
Right.
What are they doing?
Well, they're trying to make up for fucking up.
Well, look, I'm not saying anything that most baseball fans in Denver repeat religiously on a daily basis. The ownership of the Rockies really has no desire in winning.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockies are one of the few teams in all of Major League Sports where there will be look. I think we went through what the attendance was, last year and the year before.
Oh yeah, we did.
Colorado's way up there, so they make money. This organization is making money. I think that, in the past, they've made some big signings. They've been burned by a lot of them. This is going back even to, some of the pitching moves that they made back in the day to get people, to try to compete.
Mm.
And the Rockies have always competed pretty well when they've had one or two consistent stars and then kind of breakout players, almost similar to the Oakland A's, where they're able to bring up these players and all of a sudden they're playing well. And the two times the Rockies have really done anything in the postseason or made it to the postseason even is when they go on these kind of streaks where it's just sort of like, who are these guys? How are they winning?
Right.
You go back to the early Blake Street, Bomber days, and you had Rockies had a great lineup. They invested in this very much. They had a Larry Walker. They had Andres Galarraga. They had a very good lineup. But since then, they've been able to sort of bring up these stars, people like DJ LeMahieu and people like Trevor Story. But they've been unable to keep them. They sort of got rid of LeMahieu. The same thing with Tulowitzki when he was gone. Everybody wants out. I think Story wanted out. I think the Rockies and I think the Rockies couldn't work out a deal to trade him last year. And then when that didn't work, I think they were hopeful that maybe they'd re-sign him for a shorter contract, and they were unable to do that. The Chris Bryant deal is they looked at a sheet of paper and looked at a potential starting day lineup and said, well, we have no one to try.
Yeah, we need somebody to put.
We need somebody.
Yeah, I think.
And look what we just saved by not being able to, So in the past, they've always been willing to offer one or two big contracts. It's just never at the same time, and it seems like it's never a second date. You never get a second contract extension out of these guys.
Yeah, if you look at what the two guys who they let walk are going to make, or what they would have had to pay for them,
mm-hmm.
right? And Story, still certainly a top player, I guess, but Star was fading slightly,
but really not. But still, he had one down.
It's still a guy you want, but and so then you go, okay,
same thing with what's his name who went to St. Louis. Look, so
now they're not going to pay that salary, and they're not going to pay those two big salaries. So we'll give Chris Bryant something, and people come out to see Chris Bryant.
The bigger story is them letting Sonny Gray go.
Yeah, that is
because what people don't realize is occasionally the Rockies get these pitchers that do pretty well, and if you're pitching well in Colorado, in Denver, you're going to be a pretty good pitcher in this league. It's the opposite of if you can keep your ERA under 5 at Coors Field, you're going to be a pretty good pitcher. And so,
and Sonny Gray was good other places too, just not with the Yankees.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking of John Gray. I'm sorry, not Sonny Gray.
John Gray.
John Gray. I got the name. He was a local kid who, had a couple.
Sonny's cousin.
Had a couple really good seasons, and look. This year, you'll watch the Rockies, and there'll be 2 or 3 guys who come out of nowhere, even though they didn't really come out of nowhere, who will start to, do really well. They've kept Charlie Blackmon. Charlie Blackmon, again, is getting up there in age, but, Charlie Blackmon 2 years ago would have been a great center fielder for the Yankees.
And, the Yankees always used to seem to, not so much with the pitching staff necessarily, but they always seem to have some young kid who came up and had, a really, really good year, if not a great year. And
it was Vasquez last year,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the fact that he did something and that he could run the bases and that the Yankees weren't relying on somebody hitting a 3-run home run. And somebody was hitting a single rather than, striking out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get. Well, I don't feel. I felt like the Yankees were doomed with Cashman still there and with the extension of Aaron Boone. I just don't. I don't see this current setup of the Yankees. And quite honestly, I think the Yankees really need to look long and hard on going in on Aaron Judge for a huge contract long term is really going to be in the best interest of the Yankees as an organization.
Well, if they don't and he walks, you know where he's going, right?
To the Mets?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know about that.
That's probably going to come down to years, more than money. But what I was saying to John last week is, it seems to me like the old Yankee model of our goal is to win the World Series every year. I don't know if that's really.
I think you're absolutely right.
I don't think that's the model. I think I said last week. I think it's let's get into the playoffs
and see where it goes from there,
and see if we can catch lightning. A little bit of lightning in a bottle, and maybe work our way to a championship that way. But
it'd be interesting to really see what some of the transactional communication is with some of the are any of these guys really interested in the Yankees, or did the Yankees really just say no, or did the Yankees approach any of these guys, or are the Yankees really in a position where they're treading this sort of the Yankees now I think have the 4th or 5th highest payroll in baseball. They're not even I could be wrong on that, but I know they're not number 1 or 2 anymore. So and I don't think they're number 3 anymore. So it's interesting. Not to say that that's always a bad thing, but right. The Yankees have the Yankees look good on paper.
Right.
There's a lot of names there. There's a lot of name brand recognition.
They're not looking as good as they used to look on paper anymore, though. No. They used to look lights out on paper. But,
the best the Yankees have played was in the middle of the season last year when they went on that run. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it had to do with a lot of those big names not being in the lineup at the time.
Yeah. We were talking about them being, what was it, like 12 games out or something like that, mm-hmm. or and running out of time to catch up. And then, of course, they won 27 of 28 or whatever the hell it was.
Wow.
Almost. I mean, that was probably the second best win streak like that behind the Cardinals.
Look, they got a lot. They got a lot older at the corners. They got a little bit younger at shortstop. Their outfield is not young. They got a little younger behind the plate. The Yankees do not have a lot of youth on their side. There's a lot of guys in the middle or end of their career, and we shall see what happens. Again,
maybe they have
the lineup. The lineup would not concern me if they had the Mets starting rotation.
Right. And you know what? They go through cycles like this, and then we'll wrap up the Yankees talk now, but they go through cycles like this, and it always seems that they have a crop of really good, not to use that phrase they used a few years ago, but baby bombers, right? And maybe that's where they're going. Maybe they know what they got in the minors, and they just got to put a couple of stopgaps here and there, and that's what Rizzo and Donaldson and.
But when was the last time? When was the last time the Yankees were in the World
Khalifa,
Series?
I mean, Khalifa, whatever his name is.
But when was the last time the Yankees were in the World Series?
13 years ago.
Yeah.
2009.
I mean, that's for a bunch of impatient New York Yankee fans. That's a long time, it's not like we were there every year in the division championship game either.
No, it's the longest since
we haven't been a threat.
It's the longest since what was it 15 years.
The best chance the Yankees had was when they lost to Houston, when they had them beat and Chapman couldn't close it out. Yeah. That Yankee team, actually, the first year LeMahieu was there, that Yankee team actually looked pretty damn good. I think they could have gone further if they got past the Astros, which they had them. They had them beat.
The longest streak they ever had was from 81 to 96 for 15 years. So that's the entire history of them. That's the longest.
And that felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was.
20,
40 years, 41 years till
at least 10 years ago.
To 27 years ago,
right,
26 years ago.
Well, and who's homegrown on the projected Yankee starters?
Starting pitchers?
No, the regular
starting lineup.
Yeah, starting lineup. Who are the homegrown guys?
Well, Torres is homegrown, right?
Judge. No, Torres. They got from Chicago in the Chapman deal.
That's right.
So Judge, right?
Judge, and Gardner, right? Probably, unless if he comes back. But Judge, yeah. Who else? Everybody else is from somewhere else.
Well, look,
Aaron Hicks was a trade, right? Yeah, Aaron Hicks was a trade.
I mean, it's not realistic to expect Jeter and Posada and Byrne. You know what I mean? That's a great group of guys that all kind of came up through the system and all that.
Right. Well,
that's unusual.
Right. My point before was maybe they know what they have in the minors, and they have that maybe in the minors. Maybe they have a core four.
Well, we already know what they have in the minors. This is what we've been talking about. It's like all we've heard about is Anthony Volpe and Oswaldo Peraza. They're both shortstops. Jason Dominguez, didn't he play a couple games?
Well, you got to move one to third base, right?
Austin Wells, wasn't he? Didn't he? He's been up in the majors.
Mm-hmm.
They have 5 shortstops in their top. And of course they have a couple pitchers, but we haven't seen Luis Gill. He was up last year. He was part of that streak.
Mm-hmm.
A right-handed pitcher. Where is he going to fit into?
Maybe they just need to do that. Maybe they are. We're talking about it. We're bitching about it. But maybe they're doing the right thing. Maybe they have the pieces, and within the next year or two, they're going to bring them all up one by one. And this lineup, other than maybe a couple of pieces like Judge or Cole, obviously, or whatever else, the lineup's going to look drastically different in the next 2 years with all of these minor leaguers.
That could be the case. But let me ask you a question. What's the most important thing to any winning team in baseball right now?
Keep winning.
No, but what's the most important thing to have?
Oh, pitching.
So by the time these guys come up, Cole's done.
How long was his deal?
And who else do they have behind him? No one.
Well, how long was his deal? Because that was last year.
But what I mean is he's done with the prime of his career.
He's done being a superstar.
Got you.
Still be a quality pitcher, but he won't be the lights out guy.
Right. All right, a couple quick things about the Mets. I just want to nothing to talk about in detail. I just want to bring it up. I saw this graphic actually; it's pretty interesting. Buck Showalter is 4th in wins of all active managers. He has 1,551 wins. Terry Francona is number 3 with 1,782. Dusty Baker is number 2 with 1,987. Okay. And Tony La Russa is number 1. A little bit of a difference between all of them. Tony La Russa's got almost 3,000 wins. He's got 2,821 wins. And Joe Madden is 5th, by the way, 1,355. But I just thought it was interesting. And Scherzer pitched on Monday in a spring training game. Had a good outing, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run. DeGrom pitched yesterday. He threw a first pitch curveball. The first pitch he threw was a curveball, and apparently Max Scherzer was talking to him. They were busting chops in the dugout before the game, and he told him to throw a first pitch curveball, throw everybody off. So they were laughing. They were joking about it. I thought that was pretty good. They were getting along like that, and they're pretty. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty excitable. I just want to throw this graphic up based on that. This was MLB.com's, I believe it was MLB.com's, top 10 pitchers right now in baseball. And there it is right there. Number 1, DeGrom. Number 2, Garrett Cole. Number 3, Max Scherzer. And then it goes from there. Number 4, Walker Buehler. 5, Brandon Woodruff. 6, Zach Wheeler. 7, Lance Lynn. 8, Shane Bieber. 9, Corbin Burns. And 10, Lucas Giolito. What do you guys think of this list? Think it's accurate?
How could it possibly be accurate now?
Yeah.
Well, based on last year or the year before, based on numbers, based on projections,
Sure, it's 1,000% accurate. How would I know?
I don't know. Harry?
Who's Lucas Giolito?
Yeah. How about are we gonna put Bieber in there? I don't know. It's
Bieber's in there, number 8.
Okay, he's in there.
So.
Yeah, this is probably accurate.
What do you think about the top of the list? Let's do that. Let's concentrate. Forget about 4 through 10. What do you think about 1, 2, 3?
I think
for the entire league, do you think that's accurate?
I think you got to. What was Corbin Burns' ERA in 2020 and last year?
I don't know.
I mean, I think his ERA is under 2.4 the last couple of years. I mean,
It's been low, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's better than Garrett Cole. I mean, I think Cole's sort of. I hope Garrett Cole is up there. My gut tells me that he's up there based on 2 or 3 years ago and not the last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, Wheeler, that makes sense. Bueller. I mean, I can't believe that what's his name with the Dodgers isn't on the list at all.
Yeah, how does Kershaw not get on this list?
Well, I mean, he is tailing off.
How about Logan Webb?
Mm-hmm.
Is he on there?
No, he's not.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's hard to know without knowing what the criteria is.
Right.
You know,
what it does tell me is that Milwaukee should be a lot better than they are. You know,
true. This is true. All right, I just want to throw that up there.
I mean, where's Chris Sale? Again, that's kind of hard to know with the injuries that he's had.
Right.
Who else am I thinking of? I mean, look, you could argue Milwaukee's got 3 of the top 15, 3 of the top 12, starters. But I mean, who are the Mets' top 3? You know, the Mets have 2, and
well, Chris Bassett they traded for last week, so they got. So
I mean, that's a solid number 3. And if what's his name comes back, you know, who has a better starting rotation than the Mets? Mm-hmm. Maybe Milwaukee. I doubt it though.
They're 1 and 2 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in whatever order you want to put them in, they're 1 and 2. I mean, if Carrasco has a great year and Taijuan Walker got exhausted last year. Mm-hmm. He was just pitching. Now he doesn't have to. You know, he wound up being. You know, for a little while in there, he wound up being the number 1.
Is Syndergaard
now he's number 5.
Syndergaard's
in Los Angeles. He's with the Angels.
Oh, that's right. He went to the Angels. Right.
You got a 1-year deal though. You watch. If he pitches well, and the Mets need another starter, you watch him back in the Mets uniform in 23. But in any event,
look, what the Mets did really well is that second tier of free agents, including the pitcher they just got and Starling Marte and all that. The Mets did really well filling in the holes of where their needs were. I think
exactly.
I think they did really well.
They did an awesome
job.
And
by the way, they signed. They now have the number 1 and number 2, 3, or 4, whichever way you want to put them, pitchers in baseball.
Right.
So that makes the question.
And the year before they got supposedly the best shortstop in baseball. So
right. So, well, we will certainly see as the we're 2 weeks from the season. 2 weeks from tomorrow is opening day. So we will certainly see. One last thing on baseball. I just thought this was interesting. On Monday, the Texas Rangers beat the Cleveland Guardians in a spring training game, 25-12.
Okay.
So, I thought that was 25 runs. No mercy rule in spring training games. So.
No. Listen, you might say that Texas had certainly one of, if not the best offseason.
Mm-hmm. They had a great offseason.
They brought in some guns. So,
well, when they can get rid of their, wasn't Isaiah Kinner or whatever his name is? Wasn't he an All-Star last year? I mean, when they could get he was a Gold Glove winner or whatever.
Gold Glove, I think he was All-Star.
When they can get rid of him because of who they signed, I mean, that's a pretty good. Yeah, no, Texas did well.
Yeah.
There's still, there's still some holes in the starting lineup. I think it's still a question mark, but less of a question mark than some other teams.
Right. So, well, and also we talked about this last week, but you weren't on the show. Just to clarify, the opening day is the 7th. I had April 21st. Pete had May 1st, and Harry, you had
2024.
May 48th.
So, I went big.
You went big.
Yeah.
You went big. So.
I was kind of hoping for not a full baseball season.
There you go. Anyway, all right.
Actually, I got.
You got a baseball thing?
Yeah. Well, listen, the 7-inning doubleheader is gone, right?
Yep.
I mean, these are some things they're going to vote on next week, which they expect it. Mm-hmm. The Ghost Runner on second is back in extra innings.
Yeah, but not in the 9th inning.
Right.
Not in the 10th inning, rather. At the 12th inning, I believe, right? Or the 11th maybe. It's not in the 10th inning.
Oh, is it not in the 10th?
I believe it's not in the 10th inning. It's either it
right.
starts in the 11th or the 12th inning. I believe that's what I read.
Let's see. I don't know. This just either way, it's gonna be there at some point in the extra innings. But you might be right about that. 26 to 28 players on the roster through May 1st. I guess because I don't know. Because spring training is
spring training because they want a
get
couple extra players on the roster for the first month because of shortened spring training. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you guys about sort of the Ohtani rule,
the Shohei
Ohtani rule, which is, and I don't know, how often is this going to happen? Ohtani, obviously, maybe Jacob deGrom if the Mets offense is so pitiful. But if your starting pitcher is also your DH,
right?
You can leave him in the game as a DH even after you take him out as a starting pitcher.
I like that. Makes sense.
Which was not the rule before,
right?
But it was.
But nobody was ever a DH.
The same person.
I don't think anybody was ever a DH in the starting pitcher.
Yeah. So they kind of made this rule for one guy, but it's probably a pretty smart rule, right?
I like it. Makes sense. I like it.
Why not?
Take him out as a DH.
If you have an amazing if you have a pitcher that has an amazing bat, why not?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, also you can keep him in as the pitcher and substitute a DH for him.
Sure. Yeah, one has nothing to do with the other.
Right.
Because it's not a hitting position. So you can go either way with that. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't see the Mets doing that based on DeGrom's injury history. A lot of it being hitting and pitching related, range of motion. So I don't see that happening.
He might pinch hit or something like that, though.
But I could see him maybe pinch hitting. Yeah, exactly.
Come playoff time, I could see it.
Or if there's some injuries, maybe DHing when he's not pitching.
Let me ask you a question. Did Ohtani ever pitch and act as the DH in an American League game last year?
Yeah, I believe
he did.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, all right. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It might make some of those games where you're running out of guys. If you have those long games, which you probably won't have.
I think in the playoffs it might come up.
Sure.
Yeah, because you might have you could technically take a guy like DeGrom, right, who pitched the day before, but you need somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you just throw him in, or maybe he comes in and pitches one inning, and then you put him in as a DH, So I don't know.
Even have to pitch for one inning. You just come in as a DH.
Just come in as a DH.
Well, I'm saying if you needed to use him, but you didn't have anybody else, you wanted to keep. He was at least as good a bat as anyone else on your bench.
Right.
If it's getting that thin, then you leave him in,
you
or
can DH
whatever.
Exactly. So.
But that would assume that whoever your
right,
professional DH is, you would have taken out for whatever reason, maybe a pinch runner or something like that. But I don't think we're going to really get to those 16, 17, 18 inning games anymore because you're going to have that runner on second base.
That ghost runner is going to solve that problem.
Yeah.
I think the ghost runner have to be the slowest person on your team.
I think you should tie their shoelaces together, and they have to hop from one base to another.
I don't want to take
2 hits to score them.
That's right. Just in, okay. The Memphis Grizzlies have posted 76 points at halftime against the Nets. They did this without John Morant.
Yeah.
And Kyrie is playing.
Kyrie is playing.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyrie has 76 points by himself.
Kyrie has 22 points. He's -9 at halftime. 22 points and he's -9 at halftime.
Lovely.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're an enigma.
All right. Let's move on to a little football.
Little football.
A little football. One of those little ones you used to toss around the living room.
Always
used to call it something else.
Yeah, I believe so. So anyway, a couple things. One, we're going to save that thing. That's a college thing. We'll save that for when we get closer to the draft. I got a little quiz for you that we'll go over. But as far as that goes, let's talk about the biggest thing. Let's talk about really quick, but Giants and Jets. Giants, they signed linebacker Jihad Ward. He played with the Ravens. Obviously, no confusion there, obviously, with Wink Martindale as the defensive coordinator. But he was with the Jags too, I believe, for a while. He stated, this was a statement from Jod Ward, wherever I play, they are always going to remember that Jihad Ward, really, where'd it go?
I don't know.
Was he drunk?
We're getting pretty deep into the weeds here.
It's plays hard. The actual don't worry about it. It was a.
It's the typical bullshit you say when somebody
hits like a motherfucker is basically what the idea was. We have a comment here. Hold on.
Is that what he actually said? Did he use the MFer?
He did use the MFer.
Good for him.
There you go. So, whatchamacallit. We got a lot of free agency talk. Really quick, we have a comment from YouTube from Casual NFL Fan. He says, thoughts on Bears free agency? Maybe trying Eric Fisher, Stephen Gilmore, maybe wild card. What do you think about that, Bears wise?
Bears, they could use all the help they can get.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
How about yes, and yes?
I don't know if any of those guys.
Well, Gilmore, they can sign.
Would be looking forward to playing for the Bears, but
Gilmore's still not signed. He's still a free agent. He's still out there, so I can get them.
Well, the Bears are fortunate that it's not going to take. It's not going to take much for them to compete, I think, in that division. I mean, other than the Packers, who are obviously nowhere near as good as they were last year without the best receiver in football. Mm-hmm. Look, a little bit of a movement here and there, and they could be competing. And if what's his name develops, Justin Fields develops into the quarterback,
and he will. I believe he will. I think he was headed that way towards the end of
I think
season,
the Bears. So. I think the Bears are not in a bad position.
No,
they didn't have a bad year last year. They just looked like a team that was figuring things out.
Right.
So I think that there's obviously holes in the Bears, like there are holes in many football teams.
Yeah, a lot of teams. I mean, there's holes in a couple of teams just based on the last couple of days. I mean, like right now, Devontae Adams obviously signs with the Raiders, 5 years, $141.5 million, and he gets to play with his college quarterback because he went to college and played with Derek Carr in college.
I would wonder.
If that's like saying my college girlfriend was Ruth Buzzy.
He got back together.
But I was dating Salma Hayek, and I really just want to get back with my college sweetheart.
Yeah.
So you're comparing Derek Carr to Ruth Buzzy.
Well, and
Aaron Rodgers to Salma Hayek.
There you go.
All right.
If you're a Bears fan, obviously you hope for improvement, but I don't know, a year or two, if you're not really in the mix, if you're not legitimately in the mix, then it's just going to be more of the same. Okay, right. We're better than we were for whatever period of time.
Right.
But you have to start somewhere. So
there's the graphic right here. Yeah. So highest paid wide receiver in NFL history, right there, Devontae Adams.
Anymore.
Until today, when the Miami Dolphins traded for Tyreek Hill.
And then gave him an extension.
Exactly.
Hey, look, on the Bears real quick, too, and I could say this about the Giants. That might not be the sexy signs, but the Bears signed a couple linemen who are going to help them out. Mm-hmm. These are the things that the Bears need. They need multiple positions filled.
Right.
They're not going to make that big splashy signing. But I think if you look at what they've done, they've definitely gotten better. I'll say the same thing about the Giants' offensive line. I don't think the Giants have made such bad moves in this offseason.
No, Joe Schoen has made a lot of good moves. He plugged a lot of holes on the offensive line. He's doing some decent work on the defensive line right now. In fact, they went out and they signed Matt for a running back. Obviously, they let
I saw that.
Go. They signed Matt Breida.
It's a good pickup.
Yeah, wow.
Again, it's not it's not earth shattering, but look.
No, when you got Saquon Barkley, and hopefully he can return to being Saquon Barkley, right? But when you got him, Matt Breida's a good RB too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Deshaun Watson goes to the Browns. You saw what the deal was for, right?
Yeah, ridiculous.
They got 22.
He got $5 million for every sex offense he's brought up on.
There you go. 22 first rounder, 2022 first rounder, 2023 first rounder, 2024 first rounder, 2023 third rounder, and a 2024 fourth rounder. And they got a 2024 fifth round back from the Texans. But yeah, they did some damage there. And here you go. Just want to put is this the graphic? Yeah, this is it right here. Trade terms. There you go. 2022 first rounder, 23 first rounder, 23 third rounder, 24 first, and 24 fourth.
Well, look, I mean, I think the fact that they got 2 first rounders, I mean, that's more than the Dolphins got.
They got 3 first rounders.
3 first rounders. I mean, it's more than the Dolphins. 2 more than the Dolphins got for Tyreek Hill. It just makes me scratch my head and go, do these guys really care about anything other than just making the most money they possibly can and living in a place that they want to live? I mean, granted, most Americans have made the decisions based on that. But if it's about winning championships, I mean, do you think Aaron Rodgers must have known that Devonta Adams was leaving? I mean,
they're saying now that he did.
He was working it back and forth. They were saying he knew. He was like in the negotiations with him or whatever. But Devonta Adams was like, and it was a last minute offer, obviously, but they offered him the same money. He says, "No, I'm leaving. Goodbye. See you."
Yeah.
Casual NFL fan just commented, "Thank you guys so much. I like and subbed. I will definitely be here every next stream. Extremely underrated podcast." Thank you very much, Casual.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk more about the Bears.
Absolutely, we'll do that.
Which are interesting. I mean, look.
No, we talk a lot. We actually do talk a lot about the NFC North. So
yeah, it's the Bears are not far away from winning that division, especially because I don't think Green Bay is going to be as tough as they were. That's a huge hole to fill.
Yeah, you watch who they.
And the Bears are, I mean, they've been kind of.
Well, I thought it would be Tyreek Hill or somebody like that. To be honest with you,
watch it be Odell.
Well, Odell's probably might not be playing this year.
But the Bears, you can also kind of root for,
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't sack for a long time. So if if you want another team that you might want to feel good about, you go, yeah, why not the Bears? Why not? You think back to, McMahon and the 46 zone and all that. And you go, yeah, I love that team.
Right.
Sure. So, there you go.
I mean, the thing is Odell's at best a 2. A second option
anymore. He's a 2,
and he's not going to fill the hole left by Devonta Adams.
No, not at all.
But you know what? When you have a really good number 1 who gets a lot of attention, that's when Odell Beckham can shine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We saw that.
That's exactly what happened in LA.
Yeah, he can be a very, very effective.
I think his injury that he sustained in the Super Bowl is a little bit more serious than they're letting on, and I think that's why the Rams have not just re-signed him.
Right. Yeah, that's possible too. Moving on to Matt Ryan goes to the Colts.
Look, this is surprising to me, and this justifies everything that I ever thought about Jimmy G. It's just, it's like nobody wants him. This guy was one pass away from going to the Super Bowl again, and it's like, and
he was hurt.
I don't know. Look, maybe this is what Matt Ryan needs. Maybe Matt Ryan. Well, Matt Ryan did have a really good running game and a pretty decent defense when they went, to the Super Bowl.
Right.
He also had 2 of the top 5, 6, 7 receivers in the NFL on the field at the same time.
Sure.
I don't think the passing game is what's appealing to him in Indianapolis. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, they're more looking. I think they're more looking at the fact that is he going to turn the ball over as much as Carson Wentz?
What they're looking at him to do is become the Peyton Manning of the last year with the Broncos, and not the Peyton Manning of the first couple years with the Broncos.
Right.
They're looking for somewhere in between, and I think he can do it. I think it's a good.
Yeah, he can still throw the ball too.
Sure, he can.
Absolutely.
Let's just talk about how. Go ahead.
And the other thing about Matt Ryan is, I know it was Brady and the Patriots and all that, but Matt Ryan, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they don't lose that game. And Matt
Ryan does not make and that
what I mean? I mean, that was a really unusual situation, and it happens to be against.
It wasn't Matt Ryan's fault. It wasn't Matt.
I blame Dan Quinn more for that loss. Matt Ryan
almost play that scenario out of 10
Matt Ryan wasn't playing defensive,
No, but I'm saying play that scenario.
Matt Ryan didn't give up 28 points.
Matt Ryan is going to have some rings there. It was a very unusual situation. So he should, maybe I think you're right. People understand that he doesn't play defense, but he still doesn't end up with the ring.
I will say this:
kind of marks a strike against him, even though it shouldn't be.
Last couple of years with Matt Ryan, though, it seems as if that Falcons team really couldn't close the deal on a lot of games.
A lot of games.
A lot of games. And
they were in a lot of their games, and they couldn't. They couldn't shut them down.
And if you watch them, a lot of it, even the Giants game against Atlanta, Matt Ryan was not in the fourth quarter. He was not performing even close to what Matt Ryan.
The Giants should have won that game too last year. And
So my point being is that I think this is a good fit for him because hopefully, they don't have to lean on him to throw the ball as much as he's had to. Look, Matt Ryan, you give Matt Ryan the lead and the ability to control the clock with a really good running game and in the Colts defense and the offensive line. Look, that's the thing that the Colts have too, is they have a really good offensive line.
Let's look how crafty. Look how crafty the Colts were. Okay, they got rid of Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
They got Ryan. They got Ryan.
Because Wentz was Ryan last year.
Well, they got rid of Wentz and they got Ryan.
Right.
So even if you want to say that they're equal, which I honestly think, and granted, obviously you have more years in Wentz than you do in Ryan, but I think Ryan's a better quarterback.
I do too.
Carson Wentz. Okay.
I do too.
So they got a better quarterback. Forget about how many years he's gonna play for, but they got a better quarterback for less money. He's cheaper. Okay. They improved their second-round pick this year from 47 to 42. They improved their third-round pick this year from 82 to 73. And they got an extra third-rounder next year. And the third-rounder that they got next year becomes a second-rounder if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps in Washington. So they made out.
Carson Wentz is great for every team except the one he's playing for.
Yep. There you go. I want to show you this too. I want to show you this really quick.
Hoist him off on somebody and get a bunch of good stuff in return.
Show you three.
I don't know how many more times you can do that, but as long as somebody's willing to buy into the potential,
then he can keep
doing it.
Maybe he just keeps bouncing around. And he hits every other team.
Yeah, but eventually that's going to run out. But that's why you get him, the potential.
Right. Let me throw three graphics really quick. This one I just want to show. This was the post yesterday. Check out the time that I took the screenshot, 2:43 p.m. Eastern time. Okay? They posted this, NFL.com posted this. And check out the time I have circled. So what was it? They're reporting the future.
Well, was that USA time or was that European time?
Oh, yeah.
It might have been 5:48 in Brussels.
Well, no, because
it's
the earliest, the latest, the earliest it could be in Europe is 5 hours ahead of the United States, and since 2:43 was Eastern time, it would have made sense if I was in California. So that wasn't the case. So I thought it was funny. And this one really quick, Darius Leonard from the Colts tweeted at Julio Jones. I'm not going to read it in the phonetic that he typed it out in, but he basically is asking Julio Jones to come to Indy and help Matt finish what they started in Atlanta. So I thought that was interesting. But this is the most interesting graphic really quick. These are the quarterbacks, week one starting quarterbacks for the Colts over the last 7 years. 2016, Andrew Luck. 2017, Scott Tolzien. 2018, Andrew Luck. 2009, Jacoby Brissett. 2020, Phillip Rivers. 2021, Carson Wentz. And this year, Matt Ryan. So,
well, if you look at the last 3 years now, or four, or however you want, three after Brissett, there's a trend there.
There's a pattern going on.
They're renting quarterbacks for a year to see who can do anything. Look, the Julio Jones thing is really interesting because that's what the Colts need.
Yep.
They need another receiver.
If they go out and get Julio Jones,
Pittman's okay, but I mean, they're relying way too much on their running game, and they're gonna break Taylor down.
I think honestly, with Matt Ryan in there, if they go out and get Julio Jones, I think that they can compete with Tennessee for.
I don't think the Colts are looking long term. That was my point. Is that
they're not looking long term on Matt Ryan.
They've been on this train. Well, they weren't looking for long term with.
No, they were looking for long term.
Phillip Rivers,
not with Phillip Rivers, but they were looking for long term with Carson Wentz.
I'm not sure.
That didn't work out.
I'm not sure about that. Well, they only gave him 1 year. They only gave him a chance for 1 year.
No.
He was only there for 1 year.
They They only gave him 1 year. They gave him a longer contract.
Well, I understand that, but they only gave him 1 year to show what he could do.
Right.
Yeah.
But
they were over
Carson
it.
Wentz he would keep as long as he was playing well.
The Colts are a team that want to win right now.
Yeah, if they didn't fade off at the end of the season and made the playoffs, Carson Wentz would still be in Indy. But
yeah, but I also think that they knew they were going to get by trading Wentz. I think they knew they were going to get Matt Ryan.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true.
I think they already had that locked up.
Speaking of Jacoby Brissett,
yeah, right.
Does he have the best job or the worst job right now? Seriously. Do you want to be Deshaun Watson's backup? Is that a great job or not?
Well, he could be. You don't know. He could be starting for the first.
He could be starting for the first.
Maybe all of next year.
Good. It's possible. That's very possible. You don't know.
He's going to be.
We really
see
suspended. The NFL giving him more than half a dozen games.
He's going to. I think he's going to. I think it's going to be 7, 8, maybe 9 games.
I'm going to say 6. I'm going to agree with Pete.
You think they're going to wait
I'm going to disagree with Pete. It's not a half a dozen. It's 6.
It's 6.
I think it'll be at least 8, if not 9.
Okay.
Now, is the NFL going to wait until the civil suit is settled or tossed out or whatever before they render a decision?
I don't know because there's nothing precluding him from playing right now, right?
No, legally, no.
So the answer is
if the NFL doesn't come out with a decision, why shouldn't Cleveland start him? If
they will.
If there is no NFL decision and he's not suspended, he can start. He might have to be suspended after that, but
right.
He can certainly. He doesn't have to sit there and say, "Well, I don't know if I'm suspended or not, so I'm not going to play until I am."
So back to my original question: does Jacoby Brissett have a really good job or not such a good job?
I think it's fine.
I
would love to be a backup.
I'm sure he's happy there, but
right. I think it's okay. He'll get playing time.
Is he a starter really? I mean, do you see him starting anywhere else?
If he was a starter, he'd still be in Indy.
He's Tyrod Taylor, right?
Well, didn't he start? Was it Jacksonville or?
Oh, he has started. I'm just saying, is he a starter right now? Is he?
I know. Where did he?
Miami. He was in Miami last year.
He was in Miami last year.
Yeah.
I know. And then it was Indy before that. And
Indy before he started, came up in Indy and went to Miami. And then,
let me ask you guys a question. We don't need to go into it too long.
He was not a long-term solution.
No. Will Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo be a starting quarterback? Obviously, on different teams when the season starts.
Will they both be starting quarterbacks on the same team this year?
Well, but what I mean is that we know Jimmy G's, if he stays with the 49ers, there's a slim chance he might start. But they've kind of gone all in on Trey Lance.
Sure.
Mayfield's obviously still a Cleveland Brown, even though they know he's done. Do you think those guys will be will get an offer from other teams?
Or do you think the Browns will start the season with Deshaun Watson, Jacoby Brissett, and Baker Mayfield as 3 quarterbacks on their roster?
Well, or do they just cut Baker Mayfield?
They haven't cut any. I don't think they've cut him yet.
I know. I'm saying, do they? I mean, are either of those guys going to be playing come September?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. That's if Baker Mayfield was going to go somewhere, he would have went there already. I mean, with all the moves that have been going on, and you never know. I don't think there's another. I mean,
Seattle.
Who went to? Who's? I mean, are they going to go with Mills in Houston? Are they going to roll with him?
I can picture Baker Mayfield in Houston.
Or is Baker Mayfield?
Who's in New Orleans?
Jameis Winston just got re-signed.
Oh, right.
They re-signed him for 2 years, $29 million.
So I don't think
is Jameis Winston better than Jimmy Garoppolo?
For I guess maybe the Saints think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the free agents right now. Here's the current free agents.
How about the Steelers?
-1. Jameis Winston was. This is as of yesterday or 2 days ago.
Jameis
Winston
too, right?
Fournette signed as well. Beckham's still available. Gronk, has he re-signed with?
Well, it's not the middle of the year, so we don't know.
It's not, right? So
right.
maybe later on in like July.
He was the original guy.
Camp's half over.
He's just more honest
a little
about
bit,
it.
Right? J.C. Treader, Teron Armstead. You got Tyrann Mathieu. I don't think
Didn't Matthew sign?
Armstead, I think, is signed too.
Yeah.
Armstead signed, did he?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think I read that today.
But Matthew Gilmore, I believe they're both still available. Bobby Wagner's still available, I think.
Giants should go out and get Wagner, especially.
The Giants should go out and get Wagner,
especially
absolutely.
if Blake Martinez is still questionable.
And then Zadarius Smith and Akeem Hicks. I don't know. Those are your.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Jimmy G still with the Niners. I mean, are they so in on Trey Lance that they're gonna dump Jimmy G?
They didn't say they're gonna dump him, but they said
it's still under contract.
Trey Lance is gonna start.
I think they're going to move Jimmy G with the right contract. And here's another thing, Drew Lock. Is he the number one in Seattle?
No, that's what I'm saying. Seattle definitely. Look,
could you see Baker Mayfield up in Seattle?
I could see Jimmy G in Seattle. I think he would. I think that I could also see Baker Mayfield in Seattle.
I think the landing places right now are Baker Mayfield should be looking at Houston, and Jimmy G should be looking at Seattle. I think that's the way it plays out.
Who does San Francisco bring in to be their backup then?
Glennon just signed with the Raiders. You believe it?
Yeah, I do.
Glennon just signed with the Raiders.
My point is, what did San Francisco do?
To keep the bench warm?
What did San Francisco do last year?
They were one drive away from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So now you're gonna.
But this proves my point: is that as good as they are, nobody wants this guy.
Right.
And I will say this: I'm going to say this. I was kind of hoping that instead of it being Tyrod Taylor, the Giants went out and I don't want them to spend the fortune on Jimmy G, but I
can't see San Francisco putting all those eggs.
The timing was wrong with
basket, considering where they were.
With the coaching change and the line change that they're doing now, I mean, the Giants have gone. They've made the moves on the line. They still got the draft coming up. They got 2 number 1 picks. And, they're going to give Jones this year to see what he can do. He's got Tyrod Taylor backing him up.
Is Tyrod Taylor a worse quarterback than Daniel Jones?
Tyrod Taylor is the backup. Tyrod, tell you right now, and I said this a couple weeks ago, if Daniel Jones kills it this year and he proves that he's the quarterback, and you laugh, I'm saying this hypothetically, okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen. It probably won't. But if Daniel Jones actually kills it this year and proves this, it won't happen, all right? But I'm making a point here. Listen to me.
I know, I'm listening.
If he kills it this year and proves that he can be the quarterback that they thought he was, coming out of college, then they're going to extend him. They're going to give him another contract, and
which for Giants fans, he'll probably have a good enough year for them to extend.
No, it's not going to be a good enough. It's got to be. It's got to be killer. He can't be an average or slightly above average. It's got to be killer. He's been slightly above average before. It's got to be a killer year. If he doesn't, he walks. They don't extend him. Bye-bye. Off you go. Tyrod Taylor is a 1 year because they gave him a 2-year contract. He's a 1-year stopgap to bring somebody else in or draft a college quarterback coming out of next year's draft.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's what's going to happen. It's one of those two things.
I think you're right.
But if this scenario happened before they signed Tyrod Taylor, if this happened next year with Jimmy G, if that happened next year, or if the Giants were a year ahead of where they are now, if what happened with the Giants was last year, then I could see Jimmy G being signed by the Giants.
What you're saying is in 3 years they're going to have a new quarterback.
2 years, yeah, third season.
So,
it's 2000.
And that's
2024.
Barkley's done. All of these.
Right, Barkley will be done. So Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and then whoever.
Jimmy G is going to be an offensive lineman.
Right. But hey,
I don't know. My getting back to my original question, I think it's interesting that Baker Mayfield and Jimmy G might not be playing football, at least in a starting capacity, come September.
Well, here you go. Here's another thing on Jimmy G, right? The Falcons needed a quarterback because they got rid of Matt Ryan. So they went out and signed Marcus Mariota.
That was my point. That was my point. All of these signings for guys to fill these quarterback positions, and no one's really it's interesting.
They got Mariota for a 2-year, $18.75 million 2-year deal.
I mean, again, is Marcus Mariota still a starting quarterback? He will be.
Apparently, he will be.
Was he really ever a starting quarterback?
Well, he started his first year.
Right, but he wasn't very good.
Started 3 years in a row. He was a starter, and he wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad in Tennessee.
No.
I don't know. And then, it's just one last thing in football. Joe Burrow, whatchamacallit, he was sacked 70 times in 2021. Let me put up this graphic right here. Third most all time, 70 times. So they beefed up their offensive line. So the Bengals went out and beefed up their offensive line. They got
Collins was a good sign.
Yep. Alex Kappa from the Bucks and Ted Karras from the Pats. So they beefed up the line. So hey, you know what? If what you're talking about with Joe Burrow, maybe they make another run at it next year, because they were that close last year with Swiss cheese in front of Joe Burrow. So see what happens. Anyway, all right. Anything else on football?
No.
Silence. For both of you.
Well, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit going to be doing Thursday Night Football.
Thursday Night Football on Amazon
Video.
Prime. Yep.
Yeah.
Prime only.
Oh, great. Will it be delivered with my underwear?
Yeah, but they better not leave it on the steps because somebody will take it.
I just had something stolen the other day for the first time off my steps.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Did you call them and they're going to send it right back out again, right?
Call them. There's not even an option
You
to
pick up
report.
the phone and call.
Did you call them?
Did you give them a buzz?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you email
Anyway,
them?
the flip side of the
No, I
coin is
haven't.
that
Hey, but they'll send it right back out. They
Mike-
will literally,
Mike
you
Tirico
just say it was stolen, they'll send it right
moving
up
up.
again.
I have to figure out where that email button is. We'll talk about that later.
All right.
You can help me find it.
What were you saying, Pete?
I was saying good for Mike Tirico. He's going to
Oh, yeah.
step in and take over, so which he deserves.
He's doing, Mike Tirico's doing what? Monday night?
Going to do
Sunday night.
What was Michael doing? Sunday night.
No, it's
Sunday night.
But not with Collinsworth. Is this Collinsworth still going to? No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I've probably just till his contract's up, and then
Yeah. Well, I mean, half the games last year on Sunday night was Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth.
That's true.
You know, because Al Michaels only
that's
did about
true.
half of them. So. But anyway. All right. Anything else? Let's.
Oh, boy.
no, I think that's it.
Let's switch it up to a little basketball. All right. Got this quiz. Let's do the quiz. Let's kick it off with the quiz. Kick off basketball with the quiz. We still don't have sound music for it.
No.
This is the quiz, the only quiz.
See, we got there's some new music on here we can actually use on this. Let's see if one of these actually work. Let's see. So, is that quiz music? What do you think?
That's horrible. I feel like I'm going into Asian massage.
How about this one? How's that?
That's more over-under music.
We could do that for over under. All right, I like that. All right, how about this
Yeah.
one for the quiz? What's this?
No, God.
How about this one?
Tonight on Hallucination Street.
All right, how about this?
Boy, I feel like I'm at a bad recital on acid. Oh, now we're kicking it in. Jay-Z gonna start
Making
rapping?
me want to answer questions.
All right, there you go. How about feeding the ducks? This one's called Feeding the Ducks.
Okay.
Are these ringtones on your phone?
No. This is background music. It's brand new. They put it on for anyone to use.
Now, Feeding the Ducks is gone.
All right, Daydreaming.
God, it sounds like the first one. No.
No. And then we got Dance Pop. This is the last one. Dance Pop. Will it start? This can't be the whole thing, right? It's got.
Fits in with our show, though. It takes forever to make a point.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Get on
out
with
right
it.
when it starts.
Get on with it. Damn it.
I think we're good without any music. Let's do the quiz.
If
If I had to pick 4 of those 6, I would be, yeah.
Mike Ditka is out.
Mike,
Duck.
take it.
The Ducks were the worst.
All
This
right,
is
so stop
horrible.
it.
Yeah.
All right. We use rock for the over-under.
I
But
start
we'll,
having to drink Red Bulls and vodka to listen to that.
all right, let's do the quiz. Here we go. Tonight's quiz is NBA coaches. NBA coaches. Here we go. Forced, I'm going to give you 6. Forced A, 2 got to go. Who you keeping? Here we go.
All right.
Write them down. Here we go. NBA coaches. Write them down. Here we go. Red Auerbach. not his brother Blue. We're talking about Red.
Or his brother Holtzman.
Or his brother Holtzman, right? Number 2, Red Holtzman.
Is he?
There you go. Phil Jackson. Philly Phil. Greg Popovich.
All right.
Pat Riley. And Larry Brown. So Red Auerbach, Red Holtzman, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, and Larry Brown. No Mike Ditka and Tom Brady are not on this list, Pete, but please start us off.
Well, it's tempting to just dump both the Reds right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, just but they're 14 combined rings.
Yeah,
Just because they're
screw them. Off they go.
Yeah. But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. I think the Reds coached like 25 of the top 50 NBA players of all time.
All right. Well, Auerbach has to stay.
All right.
I think Phil Jackson has to stay.
You think?
I like Pop.
Well, good for him.
Is there
the fact that he's the best coach of all time, you know. But I'm glad he's glad you like him.
Well, we all have our different reasons
right.
for keeping.
You like Tom Brady.
Mixing.
Pete does not.
Well,
You like Mike Ditka.
Some people like to
Pete
use
does not.
logic.
it's not that I like Brady. It has something to do with
Statistics
his
and numbers.
accomplishments.
Others of us, we go from the heart.
Right.
Riley's out.
Riley's
out. Wow.
Yeah, because Celtics-Lakers rivalry. Of course, I was a Celtics guy. I'm from New York on the East Coast. And then he coached the Knicks, so he's gone.
Well, at least you have a valid reason.
Oh! On cue, here's the trombone.
On cue, we got the trombone. He should have just come in and played, and he could have been the background music for the quiz.
Larry Brown and Red Holtzman. I got to get rid of Holtzman because you can't have two Reds on the same list. So there you go. Auerbach, Jackson, Pop, and Larry Brown.
There you go. All right, Harry.
This is like a cage match that we're picking.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
I'll take the wiry Larry Brown. He's feisty.
I mean, look, this is tough. These are all incredible. I'm going to take Larry Brown off there, although I think he was a great coach.
He was a great coach. Yeah.
Popovich might go down as he doesn't have the numbers that Auerbach does or Jackson for that effect, but he's to me he's the best coach of all time.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep Popovich. I'm gonna keep Auerbach. I'm gonna keep Phil Jackson. Look, Riley did amazing things with the Lakers. And look, he did more with the Knicks than anybody else. Yeah, you could argue the Van Gundy team maybe had a better chance of winning than the Riley team, but that was built on Pat Riley's sort of back. And what so I'm unfortunately going to have to get rid of Red Holtzman, the man who's brought the only 2 championships to the New York Knicks. But I think over the course of his career, Pat Riley's done more.
Okay.
Granted, I think Pat Riley had more talent around him. Phil Jackson, again, had a ton of talent. I think Auerbach, you have to keep Auerbach, Popovich. Popovich all-time winningest coach now.
Yep.
So I think Larry Brown and Red Holtzman get the slight
tonight.
The slight tonight.
So you both agree on Red Auerbach, Phil Jackson, and Greg Popovich. Harry, you're going with Pat Riley, and Radio Pete, you're going with Larry Brown.
And I almost took Brown off too. We almost agreed 100%.
Right. Yeah,
but it was Riley, so no.
But it was Riley, so no. Right, exactly. So Red Holtzman, no love tonight at all. Look at that.
If you've done good things for the Knicks, you're off my list.
He's I would say that
apparently
I would say he's the best. He's the best Knicks coach of all time.
Pat Riley.
No, Red Auerbach.
Red Holtzman.
Red Holtzman. Yeah.
No, Red Holtzman. Yeah. Yeah. If we're just going Knicks, Red Holtzman wins over Pat Riley.
Red Holtzman had some down years though at the Knicks, but he had some really, obviously he had those 2 championship years and the year that he went to they went to the finals 3 times in 4 years. Pat Riley is I'm giving it to him for a number of reasons.
His career,
what he did with the Lakers, what he did with the Knicks, and quite honestly, what he's done with the Heat.
The Heat, yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well, there you go. That is our quiz for the evening. All right, let's talk some NBA. What's the score now for the? I could just turn around and look.
I don't know.
Brooklyn's up by 1 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
There you go. 98-97. There you go.
Yeah, you talk about the 76 that Memphis put up in the first half. Knicks put up 62.
The Nets did. Yeah.
The Nets, sorry.
Nets, yeah.
Which, isn't bad. That's still...
No, not at all.
It's still minus 14, but...
Great defensive battle.
But they made that back up in the third quarter, outscoring the Grizzlies 36-23, almost.
This is all I have to say about the NBA right now is that I think 2 teams to look out for, one more obvious than the other, going into the playoffs. The Boston Celtics are playing maybe the best basketball of anybody other than the Phoenix Suns right now.
Yeah, they're red hot.
And having said that, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that, let's see if they can sneak into this playoff scenario. But the Timberwolves are playing really good ball, very quietly, and they've beaten some really good teams lately, and including the Milwaukee Bucks, the Lakers, the Spurs. They lost to Dallas, but only by 2. Minnesota's playing really good ball right now.
They owe it all to A-Rod.
They do. They do. He gave him the best drugs he could possibly give him. The Knicks, RJ Barrett seems to be coming into his own. I don't know if Julius Randle played tonight or not. He did not. He's out again. Barrett had another 30-point game. So, Fournier seems the Knicks, they beat Charlotte, not a great team, but a team with a better record than the Knicks. They beat him pretty handily tonight. So we have to go back and check our projections of what we predicted the Knicks would win game wise, but I think I am probably on target to hit what we projected. But I don't think the Knicks are gonna, make the playoffs. It's
at this point, it's
the NBA right now. Who's resting? Who? I mean, this is the other thing I will say. This idea of Doc Rivers resting his players. How many games has James Harden and Joel Embiid played together? 4. This tells you everything you need to know about the NBA. I mean, they're just going to kind of rest these guys and then let them gel come playoff time.
It kind of makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I don't feel as good about this Sixers. And look, it doesn't look like what's his name is going to play the rest of the year for the Nets.
No,
Ben Simmons. So
no, he's got a herniated disc in his back. So I don't think you're going to see Ben Simmons play for the Nets.
Nope.
So.
Other than that, I mean, look, how can you not give a lot of credit to the Phoenix Suns this year? It's
that's true.
Even through a bunch of injuries, they're having a hell of a regular season.
The Knicks clinched a losing record.
Yeah,
and they now have 42 losses, so they cannot have a winning record or even a tie record this year. So that's not good. But technically, they're not out of the.
No, they're not out of the playoffs.
Right? They still could get into the playoffs.
They could still sneak.
Of course they can.
It's it's getting those odds are getting longer and longer.
Well, they're 5 games, right? They're 5 games behind the Hawks.
Yeah. Hawks lost tonight though, and if the Knicks win, they move up one.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks are on a bit of a winning streak. If they win tonight, then they're 7-3 in their last 10, which is I never would have thought that would be the case, but Boston's on a tear, and in Milwaukee's slowly just if Milwaukee can win that top spot and have home court, they're going to be tough. But I don't know. it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. The Phoenix Suns they just continue to win. Memphis is good too, but we'll see. I don't think the Ja Morant injury is serious, and the West is just going to be tough to get through. It's going to be tough to get through.
It's going to be really tough to get through the West. Absolutely. I don't see the Knicks with 5 games to make up in what?
10 games.
10 games. Yeah.
So I mean, they got to. So that means.
The Hawks have to just fall apart.
If the Hawks have to, if the Hawks go 500, the Knicks have to win every game.
I think if the Knicks had a chance of making it to the playoffs, Julius Randle would have been playing tonight.
Yeah, probably.
But look, they've won 2 in a row without him. So that's the NBA, right?
This is true.
And the Nets are just the biggest head scratchers I've ever seen in my life. And the Celtics are crushing the Jazz right now. I mean, it's unbelievable how good those guys are playing lately. They're playing great defense, and I don't know.
Yeah, you guys have been struggling a little bit lately, but
they're still 20 games over 500.
Right.
18, but it's I mean, there's still talk of Donovan Mitchell coming to the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell's got 37 points tonight. 13. He's doing his part. Rudy Gobert's doing his part. It's just, I don't think it really has much to do with Utah. I think Boston is playing really good ball, and they're playing defense. They are really aggressive on the ball, and their starting 5 is pretty dangerous from all over the court. They're hard to guard, and they're playing together. I don't know. Boston could do some damage in the East. I would not be surprised if Boston won the East the way they're playing right now.
The way they're playing right now, it wouldn't surprise me. No, I mean, I'm still going to give it to Miami, and not, I'm pretty sure I said that at the beginning of the season, but it wouldn't shock me, and it also wouldn't shock me if Donovan Mitchell does come to the Knicks too. Wouldn't shock me at all. And on that note, let me ask you this about the Knicks. Is this season a product of Randall not playing the way he played last year, or Tibbs not coaching the way he coached last year?
Neither. Look, Randall's not that. He's not. He had his probably his best season he's ever going to have last year. Randall's still playing good ball. It's what the fact of the matter is that the Knicks got rid of a lot of really good defensive players. Tibbs was given some personnel moves in the offseason that did not gel with what the Knicks were going to do. When arguably your second or third best player supposedly gets benched because he's not playing basketball the way you want him to play.
Right.
And I think it took a little bit of time for RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier to find their way together. The Knicks have some potential. They're still a couple players short of being an elite team. And the reason why the Knicks are where they're at compared to where they were at last year is the Knicks got a little less productive, and 3-4 other teams in the East got a lot better. And that's really why they got bumped down.
Yeah,
their competition got better.
They fell off a little bit, maybe a little bit more than a little bit, but not a lot. And the competition just got a lot better in the East.
Right.
So,
I mean, when you look at Boston, Chicago, Miami improved and had Charlotte. You have, I mean, almost every, there's 5 or 6 teams in the East that just got a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Who else am I? I mean, who else was? Who else? The Knicks were the 4th seed, right? Who were they behind last year? Milwaukee, Philly. Who else was? Who was the 3rd seed in the East last year?
Last year, the Knicks were
the 4th seed. The 4th seed in the playoffs.
They were 4th. They were the 5th.
They were 4th. They lost to the 5th seed. They lost to the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. So look, Miami's gotten better. The Bucks are just as good as they were last year. Maybe a slightly not as good in the win column.
Knicks were behind the Bucks last year.
Yeah. So the
Sixers, Nets, Bucks, Knicks.
Nets. That's right. The Nets. Yes. So it's
they're actually tied with the Hawks.
So the Bulls, the Cavaliers, even the Raptors, and the Hornets are all better this year than
and Miami. Miami was 6 last year.
Yep.
Boston was 7.
Yep.
Charlotte was 10. Yeah, the Pacers in the playoffs last year, and the Wizards.
Yep.
So the Bulls were 11 last year, 10 games under 500, and Toronto was worse than that. They had 27 wins last year.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, so those are not just getting better; those are big jumps.
Big jumps. Well, you knew it with Chicago, just the offseason trades they made. You knew it with Miami, just with the fact that you would have a healthy team and that they'd bounce back, especially because they were right there the year before.
Right.
And the Bucks and Sixers were a no-brainer. I think Boston is, look, it wasn't less than 2 weeks ago, right, that Chicago was sitting atop the East. So, I just, those Celtics, man, they are a scary team right now. And right now they're going to play the Bulls in the first round as it sits. If
you look at the West last year, Utah, Phoenix, Denver, Clippers, Mavs.
The Nuggets dropped, but yeah.
The Trailblazers were 6, Lakers 7, Grizzlies 8, Golden State was 9, and then San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pelicans have moved up, right? The Timberwolves have moved up.
Clippers
were 4 last year.
Clippers moved down. Nuggets moved down. Dallas moved up. Utah moved down. The Warriors moved up. It was the big moves are really the Grizzlies and the Warriors,
right?
And the Mavericks being in there,
but much more movement in the East.
Yeah. And you could still have. I mean, look, between Minnesota, Denver, Dallas, and Utah, you've got 3 games.
Right.
And then Golden State is 5 games. So between 3 and 7 is really 5.5 games. So it's not that much. Phoenix, I think Phoenix is, if they can get healthy, they're going to be tough. And the fact that they're able to lean on Devin Booker and they've been playing without Chris Paul, that's if he's healthy and
they've only won 5 in a row and 8 out of their last 10,
right. Including wins against the Nets and the Bulls and the Sixers,
right.
The Bucks. Yeah, in their last 10 they've beaten the Clippers, the Magic, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Bulls, the Wizards. They lost to the Hawks. They beat the Nets, the Spurs, and the Timberwolves. And I mentioned the Timberwolves because the Timberwolves gave them a run for their money because Minnesota's playing good ball right now. So it's Chris Paul is back. Okay, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've gotten bigger too because they're what's his name's out for the Ayton hasn't been playing for the Suns, so they're still not at full strength. So I don't know. We shall see.
Let's see what they've. Beat the Magic, beat the Heat, beat the Raptors, crushed the Lakers, beat up on the Pelicans and the Rockets, beat the Bulls by 27 5 days ago, beat up on the Kings a little bit, and now they're trailing to the Timberwolves. So it's a pretty good run over the last 5, 6, 7 days.
Especially because they haven't been at full strength.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. My one question mark is, do the Lakers? I mean, I don't think they're going to fall out of the play-in.
Right.
It would take a pretty big collapse. But do you think the Lakers are going to get out of the play-in tournament?
It wouldn't surprise me if they don't.
Well, if they're in the 9 and they're probably going to be in the 9 and 10, right? They're 5 games back of the Clippers right now.
4, yeah.
Or 4. So they're going to be 9 or 10. Right now, that's going to be either the Pelicans or the Spurs, or maybe the Trailblazers if they go on a bit of a run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they'd have to win 2 play-in games to get in.
Yeah.
They would have to win the 9-10 game and then win
as it stands right now,
the 7-8 game.
Yeah, they'd have to play the Timberwolves or the Clippers. So I think the Timberwolves will probably win that one. Yeah,
they should be able to beat whoever's in the 9-10 game with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would give them a better chance against the Clippers than the Timberwolves, certainly.
All right, that's enough NBA. Did we do our top 10?
No, we're going to do it right now.
All right.
Let's get to the top 10. This week's top 10 is top 10.
We're 99 minutes in.
New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets of all time. Top 10 New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets of all time. They got to put all the cities and states and everything on there.
They also played in Parsippany.
They played in Parsippany. They did. They were the New Jersey Americans, right? For one season.
No, they played at Rutgers. They played in Parsippany at the Rutgers Dome for a few years there. My first ever NBA game was to see the Nets in Parsippany.
Oh yeah, no. I just mean when they first came into the ABA.
Yeah, they were the New York Argonauts.
New Jersey. Hold on.
Oh, in the NBA or the ABA?
ABA.
They were the New York Nets, right?
No, they were New Jersey first.
Oh, they were. Okay.
Yeah, they came in as the New Jersey Americans. Yeah, they were the New Jersey Americans for one season. Before they played in Teaneck. They played in Teaneck in the Teaneck Armory for one season. Then they moved to that was 1967. 67, 68, they were New Jersey Americans. They played in Teaneck. Then they moved to Long Island. They went to Long Island, and
did they play at the Nassau Coliseum?
New York Nets. Yeah, they played.
They
Nassau
sure
Coliseum.
did, or as we like to call it, the Mausoleum.
Yep. The New York Nets out there from 68 to 76 as the ABA, and then from 76 to 77 as the NBA, and then they moved back to New Jersey. From 77 to 2012 was the New Jersey Nets, and then 2012 to present there in Brooklyn. So there you go.
Fantastic.
All right. Just had to do some homework there. So anyway, all right. Top. So it's technically top New Jersey, New York, New Jersey, Brooklyn.
The top Nets of all time by position.
By position. All right. Here we go. So this one should come as no shock to you. For the first team overall point guard is Mr. Jason Frederick Kidd. And going to number 2 would be, I'm saying not number 2, but first team shooting guard. Two guard, thank you, is Mr. Drazen Petrovic. And this was not a unanimous. This was actually a toss-up. It was a tie.
I don't know how the fuck this happened.
This was a tie. It actually was a tie. We went with Drazen Petrovic because there were 2 votes for first and 1 for second, and then the 2 votes for second team and the 1 vote for first for the other guy, which we'll get to in a minute. It was a tie. So technically you could say there was a tie for first and second, but we went with Drazen Petrovic for this particular list, so shooting guard. First team small forward is Mr. Julius Erving, Dr. J. Yep. In fact, this is the first time 2 lists in a row the same person was on the first team small forward for the list. So he was on.
We only have one difference on this entire first team.
Yeah, we do.
3 of us. Mm-hmm. How about that?
And
that's got to be a record.
There's.
Go ahead, say it.
Don't say it. There's not that many replies.
It's not that many options. Right. There's not much head scratching.
Yeah.
Although
still, we had difference at shooting guard. I think there was a case at power forward.
Yeah,
and you know, I wouldn't.
Oh, I don't know about the power forward.
Well, let me just bring it up. First team power forward is going to be Mr. Charles Linwood Buck Williams, and then our first team rounding it out. First team center would be Mr. Brook Lopez.
Yeah, actually, center might have been more of a question mark than.
Yeah, well,
Williams, depending on your criteria.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, where are you gonna go with that? I mean, Brook Lopez really, when you come down to it, and you got to remember too, folks, our criteria is had to be on the team for a minimum of 3 full seasons,
played for a minimum. 12 Kyrie Irving seasons or 6 Kevin Durant seasons.
Right, exactly.
Is that like dog years?
Because it's measured that way. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, so and we said we foreshadowed at the beginning of the show. There were a number of really good, talented players on the Nets over the years, but they were only here for a year.
Yeah,
2 years.
They were stopping players.
Yes, they were stopping through, so they weren't included.
Yeah. How does Rick Barry? He was okay.
He was all right.
He was a pretty good player.
Only played 1 year though. Only played 1 year.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the second team. Second team is going to be at point guard, Kenny Anderson. And that would bring us to our second team.
Not the quarterback for
the quarterback, Kenny Anderson.
No. He's on the bench for the Nets.
Actually, no. Well, it is the same guy, right? Because he played for the Bengals first, and then he came over and he played basketball for the Nets, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, anyway, shooting guard. This was the tie with Drazen Petrovic. It would be Vince Carter. And you could say, yeah, Vince Carter did have, a better career than Drazen Petrovic, but Petrovic does draw the vote. I mean,
Carter had better numbers and when he was with the Nets. He's a much better player.
Well, Petrovic didn't have enough time.
Right.
Sure.
He was getting better every year. I mean, he was. Look, they're both legitimate all-stars.
Mm-hmm. And Petrovic is one of the early on, and I still think he's top 5 all time of free throw percent or 3-point shooting percentage. So,
yeah, I think he's number 2 or 3 or something.
He was a great outside shooter.
He was a star on the rise, and unfortunately, he died.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, let's move on to our second team small forward. That would be Mr. Richard Jefferson, Richard Allen Jefferson Jr. to be exact. And we're moving on to our power forward. It's Derek Demetrius Coleman. And to round out our second team center is Mr. William Edward Pultz.
So we only had 2 differences on our second team.
I went back and forth with Billy Pultz and Brooke Lopez. I think Lopez did it a little longer, but Pultz was a big part of those championship teams on the ABA. So
yeah, I went back and forth too. That Brooke Lopez was not an easy pick.
No,
it was not a slam dunk.
Billy Pultz was a big part of those championships.
But what it tells me about the Nets is a lot of the bigger name guys, the Darryl Dawkins of the world, and the Nets had a lot of kind of guys who were just kind of came in and played really well night after night. And a lot for many of those, look, during the Brooke Lopez years, the Nets were not necessarily, for a lot of it, they weren't even really on the radar, of a lot of things. And then, yes, he was on a few of those teams that went deep into the playoffs and obviously won a championship with and proved his value. I mean, he's still a really good player. I think his numbers are a little surprising as to how good they were. And his best years were probably with the Nets.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people like that on the Nets when you look at what they were able to do.
Billy Pultz, a local guy too, born and raised in River Edge, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact. So, all right, and let's get to our reserve players. We always have 4 reserve players. Our reserves this week are Mr. Don Williamson, Kenyon Martin, Deron Williams, and Keith Van Horn. Gentlemen, speak on any of those.
I think we agreed on most of these. I think I had Otis Birdsong in there instead of Deron Williams.
I almost had Birdsong somewhere in the mix. I wasn't quite sure where to put him.
There's a couple other players that I think were borderline there. But I mean, if you look, Van Horn's another guy. His name does not get mentioned a lot, but he was a really consistent player for the Nets. Very Brooke Lopez-like, a great shooter, kind of a small big man to some degree, but
good numbers.
He played. He was versatile, and when Kenyon Martin came in, he moved over and kind of played alongside of him.
Yep.
And kind of expanded his game a little bit. So a lot of these guys on the list. You look at somebody like Derek Coleman. For years, he was the Nets. I mean, the poor guy got it in the block 150 times a game and got his ass beat because he was kind of an undersized power forward.
He played way more center than he ever should have.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, but he was great. He was a great player. Who's the other? John Williamson. The other.
Sure.
Shooting guard. Look, there's a number of players. Albert King, Bernard King. I mean, he missed this list, but he had 2.25 really great years, with the Nets. So there's been a lot of people that have filtered through the Nets, played 1 or 2 years. Steph Marbury. I mean, I know we had some conversations about him, and he's kind of a controversial figure. But Steph Marbury plays another year. His numbers were astounding.
Mm-hmm.
he was a scorer and one of the best assist guys, average wise, the Nets have ever had. But I think the first team is pretty solid. I think most people you ask would, some people say Jason Kidd's the best net to ever play for the Nets. So and look, there's a couple guys on the Nets now who, if they stick around for a little while and learn to play more than a quarter of a season, their names will be on this list.
Oh yeah.
The biggest question is, if Kevin Durant plays 6-7 years for the Nets and wins a championship, where does he rank compared to Dr. J?
Yeah,
True story.
Well, and interesting, when you look at the current Nets, not that he even made it to 2 years, but James Harden will be on that other list, right?
Right.
Well, one of the all-time greats who just wasn't around for that long.
Well, he wasn't even on it for really one. Was he? I guess he was on it. Was he? I guess he made it about a year.
About a whole year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
again, it's a history of the Nets. There are a lot of teams, and you're going to see more and more of that. Obviously in the NBA. But the Nets are an interesting team. They haven't been around that long. They're a younger team, obviously an ABA team. They've done a lot with not a lot of really great superstars.
Yeah, listen.
Now the Nets have some superstars.
Yeah, and listen, they went to back-to-back finals.
Yep. And
happened to run into Shaq and Kobe. So you can kind of forgive them for losing those.
Very weak East, although they did beat Allen Iverson was still on the Sixers when the Nets went there, right?
Yeah. But I mean,
they were. It was part of that run of the Pistons with Chauncey Billups and the guy with the face mask on. I mean, the East was not a powerhouse then.
No, it certainly wasn't. No. But still, if you're the best of an entire. It's
an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment.
Somebody had to go.
Somebody had to go. Yeah.
I think those Nets teams get forgotten about a little bit, and that's why a lot of those guys, the Richard Jeffersons and the Kenyon Martins and the Jason Kidds, that's why they're on this list.
All right. Should we get to this week's old balls?
Yes, indeed.
Why don't we get to this week's old balls? Old balls. Harry, tell us who wins this week's Old Balls Award.
This week's Old Balls Award is none other than Mr. Mike Gminski, talking about centers on the Nets. Gminski was I think he played for the Nets for 8 or 9 seasons, and It was during a time when, the Nets were a little bit of a downturn, I would say. But he was a fairly local guy, played in Connecticut, played 4 seasons with Duke. He's a highly touted college player and was drafted in the first round by the Nets. He played for the Nets from 80 to 88. And, he was one of those guys who came and played hard every night and had pretty good numbers. He averaged just under 12 points a game, had over 10,000, almost 11,000 points in his career, and averaged almost 7 rebounds a game. He was one of those guys, I guess, growing up, watching a lot of Nets games, it just seemed like he was the one guy who was always there all the time. And during those years, the Nets were definitely not, doing much as far as winning and making it to the postseason. But he was always there. He was sort of this workman-like, blue-collar-ish kind of guy who was nothing spectacular, but I think he played really good basketball for a really long time. I mean, he played from 1980 to 1994, finished his career with the Bucks, stopped at Charlotte and Philadelphia along the way, and was one of the best shooting free throw shooters for a big man to ever play the game. I think he shot about 85% from the free throw line. Yeah. So, when I think of the Mets and I think of that time period, I think of a man with a very strangely spelled last name. Gminski. Gminski. It sounds like a weird Swedish alt rock band.
It could be.
But Mike Gminski, this week's recipient of the coveted Old Balls.
Old Balls. All right, and funny note, he left Duke, and Coach K came the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So. That's how long Coach K is retiring. Obviously, Krzyzewski's out of there. He's been.
I mean, he's second in career rebounds at Duke and fifth in points. And that's behind some pretty good players. Duke has had some decent players over the years.
Right. Yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. We have anything else to discuss?
I don't think so. Do
hockey.
We have an over under, don't we?
We have an over under. I was just going to say hockey. The Rangers made a couple of moves the deadline last week. And, earlier.
Rangers are looking all right.
They're looking pretty good. Of course, the point winner so far in the entire league is still the Avalanche at 95 points, but Rangers only 5 points behind Carolina now for the lead in the Metropolitan, and only 2 behind Pittsburgh for second, and they're in third. So they're looking pretty good. So we'll see.
Maybe a Rangers Avalanche finals.
That would be interesting. We'd certainly talk a little bit more about hockey on this podcast if it was New York, Denver, Stanley Cup Finals.
Look, I think the Rangers have just as good a chance as anybody else. I mean, Carolina looks pretty good. Obviously Florida. I'm sort of secretly pulling for the Maple Leafs just because they're the Maple Leafs.
I thought you were secretly pulling for the Kraken.
Though, yeah, I think they're out of it, but yeah, of course, they
got 46 points. I mean, if they can score,
they're not so bad. And Colorado's pulling away in the Western Conference, but that doesn't really mean anything. We all know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The Penguins are playing pretty good hockey right now.
They are. Penguins
and the Panthers. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the Eastern Conference is going to be a pretty good playoff.
It's going to be fun. The playoffs are going to be fun from the East.
It's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, there's a lot of teams bunched all.
Yep.
I mean, you look at from the Capitals all the way up to the Panthers. There's not much separating all these teams.
Not at all. No. All right, and before we get to the. I didn't do
about
that.
Hockey.
Before we I didn't put this up for hockey. I made a mistake. So
there we go.
It's a set of false teeth laying on the ice.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to say one thing about hockey in Canada.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Where we know Canada, they love hockey. So I was flipping around the channels, and I guess it's TSN. I guess it's the Toronto Sports Network, sort of like the Canadian ESPN. And they had a show called Trade Center. I don't know if it's a weekly show or whatever, but it was on the day of the NHL trade deadline. And if you think we get hyped for like NFL draft day or anything like that, it's nothing. These 4 guys, I don't know who they were. They were sitting behind the desk talking about every team, every move as it was happening.
It was Bob and Doug McKenzie and a couple other guys, right?
No, and it was going on for it's on 48 hours in a row or something like that. Not the same guys the whole time, but it is like a marathon production of what's going on in the NHL and breaking down everything. And if I had any memory, I would have remembered some of what they said, but it was really impressive. Absolute dedication to the sport. And they were all knowledgeable guys. They all knew what the hell they were talking about, and anybody can talk about the move and what it would mean for the team and what they would be able to do. It was very impressive. They're like 19 more hours, Trade Center. So it seemed to me like it was a once a year thing, but a very impressive production.
Interesting
for Canadians.
I'll have to try and tune in next year and watch that. That's
it was very cool. It was very cool. I was like, these guys are serious. So check it out.
Yeah,
Trade Center.
Check it out. There you go. Definitely.
I do want to say one thing before we move on completely is this is just amazing how things fall under the radar in the disparity in coverage of sports. But the number 1 ranked tennis star on the women's side for the last, I believe, 120 weeks, at the age of 25, her name is Ash Barty, is stepping down and retiring from tennis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. I'll be honest. If you would have asked me who was ranked number 1, I could have probably pictured her, but I'm not sure I would have known her name. and it's a little sad. I'll be honest with you, because she's done some amazing things.
Sure,
she's been really successful, and she's just decided to move on to other things. I think this also shines a light on, and you see this a lot with, especially with in the women's side of tennis, where they're burnt out and really pushed to the very brink at a very young age. And so when you see women playing for a long time, I think it's because they've probably had some good guidance along the way. Not saying she didn't. I think she's doing, for a 25-year-old, she seems to be really clear-headed as to what she wants and what she wants to do. But this is more shocking than when Barry Sanders retired. It's saying something, I think, and while it's saying congratulations to her and good luck in whatever endeavor she moves on to, I'm sure she'll be incredibly successful. I think it also maybe shines a light on maybe there's something a little wrong with the way in which these young women are kind of pushed from a very young age.
Yeah, she's Australian, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think she just won the Australian, right?
She did.
She won a couple and then she won another major.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the French no, the French is next.
Yeah, she's won $20 million, I think, over the last, year.
So it could be a case. This would be interesting, and probably she would be the only one who could answer it. It could be a case of exactly what you're saying. That just how hard it is to get to that. And I mean, she has had success, and obviously recent success. It's really hard to stay on top.
Well, and they start so much younger. The women seem to break into the pro ranks very, very young.
So, but it could also be a case, and this to me would be kind of a good story. Is maybe she found out she had this gift for tennis, and she said, "I'm going to see if I can parlay this into whatever." Yeah. It's not what I want.
She's already left tennis once, I think.
Right. That's what I mean. It's not what I want to do until I'm 30 or 35 or as long as I can still do it. But maybe I can parlay this into enough money to get to where I want to be, whether that's, any sort of career. Who knows what else she does? Or
hey, look, the Packers are looking for a wide receiver.
Well, or whether she wants to.
Seahawks
maybe she has, I don't know if she's married or not. Maybe she wants to have a couple of kids.
She's 25,
But my point is, she might have said, "Yeah, here's a way that I can make a lot of money, without working for 40 years, and maybe turn that into the life that I want." I hope that's the story. Yeah, I hope that she's burned out and went, "This is so hard, and I've had this success. I don't want to go through this anymore." I hope that's not the case, but it very may likely. Or it may well be.
I think it's just her. I don't think it had anything to do with. I think she just didn't have the physical capability or the desire to play at this, level. And I don't have her words right in front of me, but that's sort of what was said. But look, she's an indigenous person from Australia. Yvonne Goolagong was another one of this. There's a long history of really great, successful female tennis players who, do retire at a pretty young age. Good for her. I mean, I think the fact that she's 25 and she's so clear as to what she wants, what she can and can't, and does want to do. Right. I think it's great, and I think it's great that the people around her are supporting her in her in her decision. So good for her. Good for her. I think the reality of it is we're a little narrow-sighted in our coverage here in the States of women's tennis. I mean, other than the Williams sisters. I mean, there's been more talk of Venus and Serena Williams lately, just based on the movie that was made about them, than there was about anybody else in the top 5 in women's tennis right now.
Sure.
Well, there has to be an angle, right?
Sure.
There's an angle with the Williams sisters. There's an angle with someone like Sharapova was a pretty decent player too, right? But she was a beauty.
Yeah, well, there's
who's the other? Certainly,
that
can be an angle. or when they just become so damn good, somebody in the more modern era like Steffi Graf or
of course, but that's not so modern anymore.
No, it's not. But
modern era, not
but I'm
the
trying to think
40s
about
and 50s
people,
and 60s. Yeah,
right? People who've had that that sort of that long stretch of super top, being in the top 5, and then they can't be ignored. But
where would you put Anna Kournikova and all that?
That's the one I was thinking of. She wasn't a particularly good tennis player. She was okay.
Well, look at Ash Barty reminds me of Martina Hingis a little bit. Another one who was fantastic and didn't get a lot of press and did retire pretty young. She was also really incredible, really young.
Yeah, she won a lot more.
She won when she was 15 years old. Yeah. She became the youngest singles Grand Slam champion at the age of 16 years. And so this is just what I'm saying is that, she was 16 and winning Grand Slams. How many years before that was she waking up at 5 a.m. every day before school and being pushed?
Absolutely.
But
that's what you think about. You're saying, no, she's only 25. She's been playing for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, but all right. Well, duly noted and agreed upon 100% with you, Harry. Before we do move on to the close out the show and to the over under, let's talk Sweet 16 for a second.
Oh God, yeah. I was in Jersey City. I was down the street from the campus of St. Peter's. I'm walking past there with my sister and my nephew, and the news people were out all over the place.
Sure.
So
the headline in New York it was the Daily News or the Post, one or the other day was Pete 16.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Clever.
Well, look, we'll see if they can get past Purdue and if the magic can continue, and if they get to kind of go home and not have too far of a commute to go to Philadelphia. One number one dropped out, a couple number twos. I still think
they're playing in Philly, right? They're playing
in Philly, yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They get to go back east, be at they were back in Jersey City, and they'll probably leave the day of the game or to get down to Philly. So that gives them a little bit of an advantage. It's been a good tournament. I mean, it seems like every year you take the 12 over the 5.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like that's the upset.
Yeah.
But by the way, the Nets lost by 12.
Yeah.
They got blown out in the fourth.
Oh, well. Yeah. But yeah, so kudos to St. Peter's. That's awesome. And one thing, what did you think about Kevin Willard making his announcement, and then in the middle of St. Pete's run, basically saying that you're going to lose your coach next year because he's going to take my place in Seton Hall.
I don't know. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of shitty timing, I think, on his part and their part. But
it seems kind of poor time. Listen, it could be motivation though.
Could be as well. Could be.
So, yeah, how many of his players?
We better win it this year.
Drag over to Seton Hall.
Yeah, right. All right, really quick, let's go around. Who's winning? Gonzaga, Arizona. Who's winning?
Gonzaga or Arizona?
Arkansas. I'm sorry.
Arkansas.
I'm looking across instead of down. Sorry.
Both teams struggled in their last game. Arkansas barely beat New Mexico State. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. I think they'll score enough points to beat Arkansas, but it'll be close.
Yeah. Gonzaga was struggling, but they came back.
Yeah.
They showed they have championship caliber and.
By beating a number 9 seed, I think Memphis was a much better team. But I'm saying
they were getting.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't a case of.
Arkansas snuck by. Now they beat Vermont by 3 or 4 points, and they beat New Mexico State by I think 5. So they're sneaking by too.
So you both say Gonzaga, right? I'm gonna write down here. Gonzaga. Who's winning? Arizona, Houston.
Yeah, I think Arizona will win.
I don't know. Doesn't Arizona always suck out in the tournament?
Yeah, but usually they make it to the final 8. Yeah.
I'll take Houston.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston actually. I'm Gonzaga on the first one for the record.
Got it.
All right, Texas Tech, Duke.
It's going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. I think Duke's going to struggle with Texas Tech. This is a sentimental pick. I'm going to pick Duke, but I would not be surprised if Texas Tech moved on. I think Texas Tech could make it to the Final Four, to be honest with you. So I think Duke can as well. But this is going to be a tough one. But I'll take Duke.
Pete?
I hate Duke, so I'll take Texas Tech.
All right, I'm actually taking Duke on that one too. I think because they lost Krzyzewski's last chance at another ACC and losing to Virginia Tech, I think they're gonna play hard for them. They're gonna beat Texas.
No, they're gonna play hard, but just don't know if they're
they're probably gonna win. But I'm gonna take Texas Tech anyway.
Michigan, Villanova.
Villanova beat a pretty good Ohio State team pretty convincingly, although Michigan beat a pretty good Tennessee team pretty convincingly.
He did.
Did you want Howard punch anybody in the face?
No.
You should have. Look how well they're doing since then.
I'm gonna take Villanova.
Going Nova, huh? Pete.
I don't know. This tournament's been pretty upsetty so far.
Yeah, take the number 11 seed then.
Fine, I will.
Yeah, I am.
All right. Going with the dog, the Michigan Wolverines.
Exactly. UNC or UCLA.
I hate North Carolina, so I'll take UCLA.
All right. Pete is taking Michael Ditka. Harry?
I don't know, man. North Carolina knocked off Baylor. You know, it's I'm going to go North Carolina.
So am I. I already wrote it down. I'm going UNC. Kansas Providence.
Kansas had a tough time, didn't they, against Creighton? That one was looking scary for a while.
They did.
That one was looking scary. The little school of Providence. Can they do it? And Providence really hasn't played anybody yet. They played, South Dakota State and Richmond. I think Kansas wins.
Yeah, Kansas is number one for a reason. It's doubtful they're going to struggle like that. And, Providence is a better team than Creighton, but I'll take Kansas.
Yeah, I agree with that. Across the board on that one. St. Pete's, Purdue.
Oh boy, yeah. It makes no sense for St. Peter's to continue, but I'm going with them. I'm going to ride them until they die. You gotta Jersey City, baby.
How many Giants can you kill?
Maybe they can.
However many they have already.
Here's my is Purdue better than Kentucky?
No,
I don't think so.
Kentucky's a better team than Purdue.
Look, what impressed me about St. Peter's, against Murray State is Murray State made it close, but St. Peter's was really composed, and you never got the sense they were going to let that lead slip. And I liked them towards the end of the game. They seem to have a really smart team and pretty decent free throw shooters, although their best free throw shooter missed 2 in a row. I'm going to go with St. Peter's and that Indefdu or whatever his name is. That guy can block shots from outer space, and the guy, the little white kid from Nutley with the mustache. St. Peter's. Let's go.
Gotta love the descriptions. Pete.
St. Peter's is a good team, but they're playing better than they are, and I don't think they can do it again. So I agree. I don't think Purdue is better than Kentucky, but I think they're going to be better than St. Peter's tomorrow, Friday night.
So you're going with Purdue. You're going with Purdue. All right. I'm going with St. Pete. I think they're just. I think they're. I'm not going to say they're going to the Final Four, but they're winning this weekend.
Elite Eight destiny.
Elite Eight destiny.
Yeah.
Or they're winning Friday anyway. All right. And Iowa State, Miami.
This is a tough one, man. Iowa State beat a really good Wisconsin team, and Miami beat a really good Auburn team. They also beat USC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Miami.
Yeah, I think I am too. No particular reason.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, who would have thought you would have a 1 versus a 4 and an 11 versus 10 in the Midwest Sweet 16? Tough.
Yeah, this could be as much a question of will as skill.
Yeah.
And I think Miami might have a little bit of an edge there.
I'm actually going to Iowa State.
All right.
I'm going to Iowa State. So. All right. So there you go. Those are our picks. Wrote them down. We'll see how they pan out. Now, here's the thing. We're not on again until the 30th. So do we want to do the bracket, the Elite Eight bracket too?
We could do that remotely and post it online.
All right. So let's wait.
Yeah,
let's
we
wait
can do
to
that.
We got to wait to see who wins anyway.
Wait to see the well, no, because I mean you could just continue with this, but yeah, I think it's better. Pete and I talked about this last week too. Wait and see what happens with that, and then we can post our picks for the Elite Eight online afterwards, and then we'll talk Final Four next week.
Alrighty. Until then,
we're going to leave you with
rather than skill.
Exactly. Until then, we're going to leave you with this over under tonight's over under. Hold on, let me get the music going. Oh, we got the music going. Look at that. Maybe it'll match. Let's see what happens.
Random muffled trombone.
With I wish it was a tuba, but with random trombone music. Just
Is that too loud? A little lower? What do you think?
I did it.
I think that's good. That's good.
Perfect. It drowns out the trombone.
All right.
So tonight's over under. Now we're going to do just a little. There's been some controversy about over under on the intertubes because some people have accused yours truly of fixing it.
Cheating?
Cheating in a sense so that one or the other of you would win.
Mm.
Now, I would never do that.
I think I've only won one, so.
I think you've won two, and that's what sparked controversy.
Really?
It was like Harry, people were saying Harry sucks at this, yet he's won the last two. I think Pete is throwing out false numbers to help him win.
By the way, folks who think I suck at this is purely random nonsense. I just suck
at random nonsense.
You suck at random nonsense. That's
right.
So what I have done is
there's no skill involved in any of this. I think the two that I will say this: the two that I won was more of a spatial recognition thing. I could see this, what was in something, so I guessed properly. That was all.
All right. So, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this week then.
All right.
So anyway, in order to avoid the controversy, what I have done is I have taken the answer and written it down on a piece of paper.
Yes, Gwyneth Paltrow will read it later.
And put it in this sealed envelope. And to make sure that there's no funny business, I'm going to hang this envelope up.
Hang it up on the camera.
What's
actually here on camera.
What's more shocking to me is there's people actually commenting on it.
All right.
These weren't the voices in your head?
It was both. It was both. Yeah, a little of both. A mixture.
All right. Let's do this.
So, in keeping with our medical theme.
Please keep your pants on.
How many stitches did I get for my vasectomy?
How bad does this look? Is this a rash?
Bug bite or...
is it a rash or a fungus?
Yeah, bug bite or fungus. All right. How many pills in the bottle we're going to play?
Whoa.
Now, this is...
Can I see a size of one of those pills?
Yes. This is Chlorcon M20, also known as potassium.
Okay, I could kind of see.
It's a potassium pill. And these are big.
We still got the music going on and the trombone. Okay,
there you go.
Pretty good.
These are pretty big. They're probably about an inch long or so. So,
or 5.
Leave it alone.
That's what she said. Probably about an inch long.
So they're about 5.5 inches long.
There you go.
So there are 90 of these in a bottle.
Oh, well, okay. Now you're giving it
And this is a full bottle. How many are in there?
And I dumped some. No,
hold it up
I have been using this bottle. This has been.
Hold it up.
The seal has been broken.
Okay, hold it
up.
up.
So it is not 90, but that's not the over/under anyway.
Okay,
so I'll hold it up to the camera.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, this is not a full bottle. So the over-under is, I even wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, 82.5.
All right. 82.5
the bottle
is
again?
the over-under.
How many are left in there?
How many are left in the old
I'm
bottle?
going under.
Going under. Harry's going under. John?
I want to go under, but just for
So we can have a
winner and a loser.
Someone will lose. You're gonna
Right.
go.
I'm guessing the final total is either 82 or 83. I don't think it's that big a difference. That's what I'm guessing. That's what it looks like.
I'm going over.
All right, John's going over. All right, now.
And the winner is
the reveal.
Oh boy, the drama.
This is dramatic, isn't it?
The music doesn't work with the over/under. The trombone does, though.
Well, the trombone with the music.
Because it's meandering like the segment.
Yes. The music is too high energy, quickly paced for what actually goes on.
All right, here we go.
It's going to be 83. I can't see. 81.
It's 81.
81. There you go. Harry wins.
There we go.
Suck it, you doubters.
Proof positive, all you naysayers. It ain't
Harry's
rigged.
catching up.
It's now 6-2. Oh, no, 6-3.
6-3 now, yeah.
Actually, I don't think we've even done 9.
It's probably close to that, but yeah.
Well,
I think
unless
the
you count
all the
blood tests,
diabetic one was like 7 of them.
There was like
That
8
was
of them
5
there.
of
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't even know how that panned out. That was like a play-in tournament, and
Yeah. Will the ring finger be higher or lower
will
than
Pete
the
pass
pointer?
out?
I'm losing
fun.
multiple.
All right, well that was a good one.
That was a good one. I like that one.
We're just gonna call you Potassium Pete.
There we go. That's
All
good
right,
stuff.
can I go now?
We can go now. I think we're done. All right. On that note, we'll wrap the show for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest. Enjoy more spring training. Enjoy the basketball and hockey seasons as they come to a close and wrap up. Enjoy March Madness as we got the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 this weekend. And we'll talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Go St. Peter's. Brought to you by potassium.
Brought to you by potassium.
An essential element.
And a diuretic.
That too.
Don't take one when you go to the movies. Right before you go to the movies.
Have a banana today.
Tune in next week when Pete puts his diuretics in a diorama.
It's a diuretic diorama.
That's right.
There you go.
I'm going to recreate great moments from the World Cup with all my pills.
Okay.